Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Super Shenanigans Variety Hour.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Yeah, we're just taking our little group nap.
A little.
Yeah.
We're all just.
Yeah.
Hey, so
Yeah, we all nap together on call. Yeah.
you know, after last episode, that Paddington episode. So what we do after that is we just took a 2-week nap.
It's hibernation time.
We had some marmalade sandwiches and hibernated for 2 weeks.
In between,
And we're back.
we don't do anything between these.
No, nothing at all.
Ah.
So what are we doing today, guys?
All right. Yeah. Today, I think we're complaining about our future careers.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
We're all whining and yapping. That's what we're about to do.
We're a bunch of millennials.
No, we're
not millennials. Gen Xers, Gen Zers.
There you go.
Goomers.
Liam's like, should I lead into this? Yeah, I'm a gooner.
Gooners rise up.
But yeah, we're just gonna. We have a little presentation. If you can pull it up while we introduce.
Okay. Okay.
We're just gonna talk about all of our individual careers and the industries, the status of it. We're doing a little status report.
Yep, we're essentially talking about trends that we see in our industries, where we think those industries are going. Maybe show a little numbers to back up our feelings, and just
I'll let.
So are we feeling this? Are we feeling it, guys? Do we want a custom?
Yes, this is mine, by the
Yes.
way. I'm doing the game industry slide.
Oh
Yeah.
shoot! Oh shoot!
Go back! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Oh my god! Oh my goodness!
Which one we feeling?
Oh my goodness! I'm so sorry.
Are you able to?
I don't think you gave me perms.
Did I not give you
Okay.
perm?
Okay. You
I'm able to edit it here.
got it.
Which one do we like the most? We'll
I'll
have a
just full
vote.
screen it.
I kind of like.
Everybody in the comments, tell us what you think Shaymin's slideshow should look like.
If you
Yeah.
full screen it, I can't change the
Yeah,
slide.
please
Really?
Nah.
link the themes that you want us to use. Oh wow, there you go.
That one's like almost okay. The text is still terrible. 'Cause it's Comic
I
Sans.
used that one.
You use that one?
I like how you didn't even capitalize any other word than the.
The.
Duh.
I think I know which one I'm going for, and I think or this one.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, I just doxed
I think I like this one.
my persona
Oh.
my persona bookmark. That's good. I think we should keep it that way.
All right, let's start it up.
Ew, why is it green?
Alright.
Why is that text yellow? Ew.
Alright. So what are we looking at here?
All right.
Yeah.
So
Walk us through 'em.
the game industry is dying right now. At least that's what a lot of people are saying on the internet. Which, I mean, maybe a bit. Let's move on. Let's head over. Let's start on the meat and the potatoes. So, very quick baseline.
This is not meat or potatoes. This
No,
is
this is-
fucking words.
Yeah.
You should have added a photo of meat and potatoes
Yeah, let's
below
do
your
it.
text.
Yeah, let's do it right now.
I can do it live, but we're not.
Do it live.
No.
Well,
All right. So,
Oh.
generally projected for the past few years, ever since like COVID mainly, games have been on a rebound upwards. Like we've gotten a lot of good games coming out. The projected growth of games is 5%, like a little over. At least according to most recent studies, there hasn't been anything dropped 2022, 2023. So maybe it's a little different now.
We don't got those numbers.
But like last year, Baldur's Gate released, Spider-Man 2, a bunch of other AAA releases. Street Fighter 6 is just a fun example that I play a bunch. But
Yeah, you.
I just like that game.
yeah, I love Street Fighter.
I was there with you. Baldur's Gate, Spider-Man 2, yeah, Street Fighter 6. That was just a.
That's
you
just
pick.
for me.
It's probably,
Yeah, fighting game of the year though, guys. Come on.
It is a good fighting game. But
I
Oh,
believe
yeah.
you.
these games are huge, technically impressive, incredible. Spider-Man 2, you're able to fucking swing around windows and like see their houses, like people's apartments and stuff like that.
But not have a day-night cycle.
No, not have a day night.
No, they just had. Well,
Did they?
They don't have like a natural one. You could change the time of day now.
Yeah, dude.
I think that game could use a day-night cycle. Didn't the first one have
Future
one?
is now. Yes. Wait, didn't it?
No, you have to go to the weird like Harry Osborn like.
I don't care
Lab
then.
Which the
I don't
time
care.
Of day.
All right.
That day-night cycle is such a. I mean, it's nice, but
At
whatever.
least they made it so you could change it.
All right, moving on. We'll just go to. We'll go to the next slide. Yeah. So games are doing great. Surprise, surprise! Mass layoffs. Suddenly, everyone is fucking fired. You can see some of these numbers; they're a little bit crazy. Like Unity, especially. I mean, we all know Unity's been dropping the ball, but they had 4 rounds of layoffs. That's 29,000 people.
25% in 2024 is
And
pretty
14%
That's really yeah.
in 2023. That is like most of the company.
Yeah, that's quite literally like a
That's a
third of
chunk.
your company.
hmm
bad. Ooh.
And we can see the other ones here. Microsoft did terribly. Well, I mean, all these companies are just hiring and moving on with these people. I will say some of the other ones towards the bottom, they're a bit less severe. I mean, still, like, 70 workers for, like, some of these smaller companies, like, what is that, Supermassive? I mean, that's 30% on that indie company. I don't know if that's different than Supergiant Games. I only know Supergiant Games. Maybe they made something cool.
Maybe.
Okay, so...
Next slide.
why the hell are these layoffs happening? What the fuck is going on with the games industry? Why are... I thought we were doing so well. Move on. We got it. Alright, so... generally, this is because of the business practice that games have adopted, which is emulated big tech in their peaks and successes. So basically, they follow a trend and make as much money as they possibly can. And once the trend starts to die down, they remove it. They just get rid of it. Because it's the most efficient way to make as much money as quickly as possible. Now, it's not exactly...
Otherwise known as whee! Ah!
No more money, burn everything. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, every single fucking studio, it feels like, does this nowadays. Whether, like, on purpose or not. And we can move on. We'll go more into examples. I got them later on. Maybe we won't.
Let's see.
Alright, so...
Maybe.
These games have so much money put into them. Their fucking budgets are giant.
Yeah.
Like, look at that shit.
These
300
are
million? 400 million? For Cyberpunk?
Yeah,
that
like these
game
are
fucking
blockbuster film level budgets.
bombed.
Mhm.
And they're not...
Oh, we'll talk about that.
And they're selling, like, a lot. But, like, 7.2 million expected profits versus 10 million sold. Spider-Man has sold, like, 20 million for half of the initial budget. Basically. Final Fantasy 16. I love that game. That game's great. 300 million budget. And 3 million copies sold first weeks. They don't talk about what the fuck they sold now because they don't wanna.
Yeah, Square Enix is very tight-lipped about
you got
that.
it. Yeah, I'm waiting for Liam's opinion on that. But
I'm gonna add. Well, I'm not gonna say anything about any of the other games, but for Final Fantasy 16, because I have actually followed it, I will say it seems like this is the first Square Enix game in a really long time where the answer has been, yeah, we're pretty happy with it.
for sure, this game's great.
Publicly. No, I mean like sales-wise, because of
okay.
even like sales-wise, they're definitely Square Enix is one of those companies that's like it's like, all right, cool, this is gonna sell more copies than any video game ever, and when it sells really well, they'll just be like, oh well, it didn't meet our impossible numbers. This is the first time
They
in,
had
like,
a
50
realistic
years,
numbers.
Square Enix said it's probably gonna sell this much. It sold that much, and they went,
Are you telling me that
no,
their
exactly.
estimations department finally did their job?
yeah, they finally realized that Final Fantasy 16 was not going to sell 1 bajillion copies. It was
40 more billion copies.
that 3 million copies in its first few weeks is fantastic.
That's really good. That is good, at least, that they're happy about it. I couldn't find that.
I can link that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of...
Throw it in editing, Liam. Now I gotta find that.
Ultimately, though, games are only getting more expensive, first of all. The AAA price has increased substantially, and we're gonna move on to monetization. Now these... Yeah. Next slide. Now these games are, Oh god, I had a train of thought and I completely lost it. Alright, these games budgets are so large that they need to have as many fucking monetization trends as possible to support this shit.
And people get mad about it.
That's why $70 games now, since that's the price. Sometimes 80 or 100, especially with the super deluxe DLC editions, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
They are having battle passes, different currencies, sometimes loot boxes. I think that one's kind of fallen off trend because people hate it so much, but it still exists in some places. And the CEO of Unity, you know, one of the best, most influential people in the industry. He said, "You're a fucking idiot, stupid pussy bitch if you don't make as much money out of your games as possible." And I think that's like, that makes a lot of sense, honestly.
And not paraphrased at all. That's exactly what he said. You could see it on the screen right here.
To be fair, honestly, if you look up the direct quote, you can put it up if you want, edit in Liam, or they can go look it up.
Yeah.
So how do you guys feel about specific versions of these trends? Because I want, so first off, the $70 game is obviously controversial. How do you guys feel about the $70 game?
Yes, so I think it is a good thing, actually. But
you and me are in that same controversial standpoint.
It is only a good thing if the game justifies it. Final Fantasy 16, and actually like most of those games on that list, do justify that price. There are games out there that just do not have nearly enough content, variety, interest.
I know what Shaymin's gonna bring up.
Just general support, anything to justify that price. And a lot of the time that these games are released like this, and they sacrifice a lot of the money that could go into making the game function, which has always been a trend in gaming. Games have done this for fucking centuries. Look at Duke Nukem Forever.
Centuries?
Centuries. Thousands of years.
That's not what a century is.
Thousands of years.
Wow. Thousands of years.
Dude, 1 century. 1,000 years.
But in all, yeah, I mean, games have... Alright, go on.
I think, so here's the thing that people... So first off, yeah, it sucks. I will say that. Yeah, it sucks having to pay $70 for a game because of...
For fucking Mario.
Games are already expensive. But when you look at the math of it, especially with like inflation and stuff like that, games were $60 since before I was born. I'm 21, pulling behind the curtain. I'm 21. I'm a youthful little guy, but still. 21 years ago, games were $60, and clearly, everybody left or right knows that inflation happened.
Yeah.
And $60 now is not the same as $60 then, and we know that the industry is struggling a lot with budgeting and stuff like that. So I think $70 isn't too bad, again, with the addendum that I don't think every game should be that full price.
There's some games like... There's some games that really should drop as like a $40 or $50 game rather than a full 70, because you know some games can lack like really good online support, like for example fighting games, you know, like Street Fighter 6, worth it, because that game has so much shit to it. I love that game. A game that I've been playing recently that I feel like kind of wasn't worth the $70 was Tekken 8, and I love Tekken.
But you ain't paying Tekken again?
But I'm not paying 70 for Tekken again because the online's slow, you take forever to get into a match, and there's just not enough to do within just the general single player or multiplayer aspect that warrants that $70 price point. The game looks phenomenal, like it looks gorgeous. Like visually and graphically and even gameplay wise, it's super fun.
Especially annual releases for this type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ooh. And you know, and again, what you're saying with like complete versions, so I paid $70 for Persona 3 Reload, which is a price I'm happy to pay for Persona 3 Reload, to be honest. I know I can agree with some people saying that maybe because it's a remake and it's not like, not to say that it's bad, but it's not like the most cutting edge. It's a game that exists already. It's technically a game that already exists on modern consoles because of the portable version. And it doesn't come with some of the other content, like it doesn't come with the female route. It doesn't come with the answer. The answer is now, the epilogue chapter, the answer is now coming as DLC. And I think the total price for a complete version of this game is now going to be $120. $120, which is not, no.
That's a lot for a JRPG.
I'm not paying. I'm not. And again, I don't even like the answer, so it works out for me. I just won't buy it.
That's the thing too. Like monetization trends is giving a incomplete package of a game, and then going, all right, we're gonna add more to it in this DLC. That's basically the cost of a whole nother game. Here you
Atlas
go.
Atlas is the worst with this. For the record, they're really bad.
It's so embarrassing when they do stuff like that, and then you get like God of War Ragnarok dropping a full free like expansion basically, and just going like, hey, yeah, just fuck around with this roguelike, and also there's like a lot of story and lore stuff that you get with it, and it's like, oh wow, I didn't have to pay extra for that. That's rare.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and Day 1 DLC in particular is, I think, the thing that is the worst. I'll say right now, I actually don't mind loot boxes as long as it's not a pay-to-win scenario.
No.
If it's a skin scenario, like, you know what? I'll say this with Fortnite. Fortnite, is it cringe? Most certainly. It is absolutely cringe, but it also is not hurting anybody or their experience at all. People only, well, they'll lose their money, but it's really not like a huge loss. And it's not like there's a huge skin market in the same way like CSGO or TF2 works, so it's not like it's a huge gambling ring.
You're basically like collecting your favorite little like action figures. You know, like you're collecting your digital market of costumes in Fortnite.
But Day 1 DLC, you will go to the pits of hell if you make Day 1 DLC in your game. I'm sorry, I don't care.
Game. You just made the game and had this part of the game and then just cut it off. The fuck are you doing?
Exactly.
DLC
and
is
it's like,
kill yourself now.
I hate it too when it's like even little stuff like cosmetics or whatever. Like it's just such a way to entice people to like buy the game on release, full price, get pre-orders in. That way the company can measure how much they make and they can like declare it the week later. Be like, look at how much we fucking made, guys. Check this out.
What's your opinion on collaborative trends? Like lots of live service games. I mean that's what they would be called.
Yeah.
But
I mean, what do you mean by our opinions on it? Like,
so sorry. You know how games like to have collabs a lot of the time, like they always have.
Okay, I see.
Yes.
Yeah.
You mean like Fortnite X Thanos?
Yeah, Fortnite X Thanos. Fucking Smite does it a lot. You got fucking Transformers characters walking around
with gods. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know Street Fighter did it with the Ninja Turtles, and everyone was mad about that.
That one's like fucking $50 for all of them.
It costs literally like I think literally $100 to get all four Ninja Turtles costumes for your avatar, for your custom created character.
Yeah, which shows up in the battle hub and the story mode.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Not like an April O'Neil skin for like Chun-Li or like a Raphael skin for Ken or something. No, it's just
you get to you get to be Leonardo in the overworld once.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always so
That's
baffling
awesome.
to me how bad Capcom monetization is on Street Fighter when Capcom monetization on, say, Monster Hunter is actually one of the best industry standards, in my opinion, because it's dropping a DLC for a game for like $40-50, but it's like the same size of the original game. You're just getting twice the content, basically. I mean, that's pretty solid. And then afterwards, they have still like free updates afterwards to like keep it going, keep it supported. That's how you, at least in my opinion, you should put money into these big fucking games. You know?
Yeah. I also just want to say, for clarity's sake, too, that normal DLC that comes out like a significant chunk after that doesn't feel like they removed it from the base game, perfectly viable for the. For example, like every single FromSoft game has fantastic DLC. I would never get. The only thing I get mad is that they actually took too long this time. The gap was too big. But it's that DLC that FromSoft does. Demon's Souls didn't get one. Artorias of the Abyss, Sunken, or just the King's trilogy, whatever it's called. I don't like Dark Souls. Ashes of Ariandel. Old Hunters, and now Shadow of the Erdtree. Like, dude, all so great. Probably some of the best material they made. It's separate from the main game. It takes them a while to make it. It doesn't feel like a big chunk of the game is missing with it gone.
It's just more.
It's just more. It's just, hey, you liked our game? Well, here's a little bit more of it. Another thing, too, is expansions in like MMOs and stuff like that. Those are like essentially whole ass sequels.
Yeah, it's just a new game. Like
but I don't mind the 16 DLC. It's unintrusive on the main campaign. The next one's coming out in like less than a month. I paid for those. DLC can be hit or miss.
So moving on a bit, what I will say is...
was I not supposed to...
No, you're good. It's okay.
Okay. It's okay.
So a lot of these companies are making really poor financial decisions, and which is causing these layoffs. Believe it or not. That's one of the main reasons why it is.
Whoa.
Either
it's not because they're lazy?
Either their games are bad and they cancel them before they release them, or they're just bad. They, EA, for example, Microsoft, Activision, Blizzard, that merger, they fired a lot of people because of that, for example.
And for what?
Yeah, right.
Well, for what? Like,
what did help?
That's kind of where we're building up to. So, in 2013, when the Wii U launched, and not after it launched, when it became a commercial failure, when it sucked ass, because nobody likes the Wii U. Nintendo took a massive hit in profits.
You just lost 5 subscribers.
I like my Wii U. It plays a lot of Zelda games, and that's literally it.
It does.
That's true.
It's a good Zelda machine, actually. One of the best.
It's the Zelda machine.
That's all it has.
Yeah.
Its controller suck. Whatever. So, Nintendo saw how many people were fucking, they had to let go, potentially. And they decided, as the CEOs, to take a pay cut. Iwata took a 50% pay cut. Some of the other executives did as well. Miyamoto lost 25% of his pay. And these, obviously they make a lot of money, first of all. But that alone was easily enough to keep them going. They were fine. They didn't take that pay.
And then they made the switch and they got over it.
And they used their manpower, their people, to be able to make a new product that's better.
It's almost never in this situation when it's a mass layoff's the workers' fault, because of literally how
companies will have you believe that.
The company that
companies will have you believe that. And if we look at this, for example, CEO of EA, 20 million salary, Unity, 22 million, Microsoft, Xbox, 50 million. Activision Blizzard, 154 million a year. Now,
yeah, that's enough to just make a game with their salary.
Yeah.
Imagine 25% of 20 million. That is $5 million. What is it, like 60K, 50K on average? It goes up to like 77K for average game developer salary. That is 100 jobs, roughly. Probably a bit less, but
yeah,
my point still stands.
And Iwata took the 50.
Yeah, Iwata took 50%. Imagine if Activision Blizzard or Unity or any of these companies simply took 5% of their total sales and then provided it to their employees for the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, not gonna happen.
No,
and I know it's not gonna happen.
A bullet point that says this is too morally good for the industry, like it's no, because it really shows like how cutthroat and how just like
this is tech industry.
How assembly line.
This is the tech industry. This is big tech.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Like it's I'm gonna pocket all this, and I just need to get rid of somebody.
I mean, this is every corporation.
Oh, go away. You know, and yeah, it's every corporation. And now we're just getting to the semantics of like capitalism bad, trickle down economics, etc.
Well, even still, like for the economy itself, it's better for them to do this because of then all of these jobs are saved, and like Iwata and Miyamoto still made money, and I'm sure after they fixed the Wii U issue, they're still making fat bank, so everyone came out okay.
It came out better, in fact.
They're both rich. Still were rich. Everyone got to keep their jobs for the most part. The economy did better for it, but a lot of people like to grift and trick you into saying like,
those workers were lazy. They weren't. They weren't designing. They weren't gaming.
Now,
gaming hard enough.
And that it's an issue of like over hiring or blah blah blah, which can maybe sometimes be true, but like
side tangent, Nintendo also like. I'm not gonna pretend like they're doing the best right now, but at least they're not doing. They're fucking laying off people. At least from what I've seen.
En masse.
I can look up again just to verify that, but it's different.
Yeah. It's different.
Mm-hmm.
Next slide.
Yeah. So this is the games graveyard with all the dead games that came out in the few years and shut down. All the games that just stopped production because they decided not to do that. You know, Midnight Suns, Halo
Infinite,
Spellbreak, the online, that is.
The Avengers game.
Overwatch 2, they stopped production. Knockout City.
Yeah.
Wait, they did?
Yeah, dude.
They stopped production on the story mode for sure, which I mean we all knew
about the story mode. Yeah, Lamau.
I was talking about the online. They just killed it. They decided it was finally enough, and they shot it in the back. Yesterday. It was pretty awesome.
Dude, wow. Imagine killing, again, just to hate on Overwatch again, imagine having such a massive industry success and killing it this quickly.
And you know what? There are so many reasons for that. There's like the fact that every single gameplay choice they make is uninteresting, boring, derivative. Like they made the fucking hitboxes wider so that way people can hit headshots easier on these characters that were already easy to play.
Yeah.
Everybody's a damage sponge now. The tanks have infinite. They tried to reduce CC, but end up giving some characters infinite CC, like Orisa. And you know,
I wish Halo Infinite was good.
And the monetization's worse in this game too. Halo Infinite, they just kind of didn't develop. That's the problem with this game.
So the thing with 343 is that they just cannot for the life of them come up with a plan and then execute that plan.
No.
It's just literally impossible for them. And they can't... Speaking of a fucking company that goes through people quickly, they can't even hold on to, like, high-level, like, executives in 343. They can't hold shit.
Dude. It's like...
It sucks there.
Lots of these... places, like, I mean, Spellbreak and stuff like that, they were epic, and they tried to live as best as they could, but it wasn't gonna happen. They didn't have enough,
I played Knockout City for 2 hours.
Yeah, everybody did.
Yeah.
For 2 hours.
for 2 hours, and I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Angelo still plays Midnight Suns, don't you? Sorry to dox
Midnight Suns.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Midnight Suns. The thing that sucks about that game is that it just didn't. I feel like it was a lot of very negative reactions and perceptions at first, just because it's like, it's XCOM, but with card game mechanics. What is this? I hate this. This isn't Marvel.
That's a bit
and
weird.
Then you got
a lot of right there.
Yeah, and then you got a lot of regular kind of Marvel fans going, I don't think I'll like this. And then you got a lot of regular Joe Schmoes going, I don't think I'll like this. And then it just like dead on arrival.
They marketed a game that kind of wouldn't really sell to anybody.
Yeah, and the thing
Except
that sucks
Angelo,
about it is,
I guess.
it's a good game. Like there's depth to it. There's tactics. Like it's a fun strategy RPG. Like it's super fun. It's just that I didn't bother picking it up until it was on sale for like $25.
Yes. That being said, I don't think they're having any more DLC. I don't think they're having anything else. I think all the people who worked on it are gone.
Yeah.
This is.
They managed to get out all of their DLC though. Like they have a full complete storyline.
But you know what?
With the extra characters.
These are all mostly last year.
Yeah.
Like, let's look at this year.
Yeah.
If you don't mind.
No, I do mind.
Yeah, we're gonna look at this for a little while longer.
We got Tombstone Pizza. What happened to them?
What happened to them?
They exploded.
Oh, I tried to find a Tombstone PNG and couldn't find one.
Dude, for real? Googling Tombstone PNG, nothing came up other than this?
Yeah, that's it.
And it doesn't have a transparent background. There's still white around it.
This is the best you can find?
Sure. Alright.
Alright.
You can see tech in there. We got some spicy topics here. So,
ooh,
the Star Wars
classic.
Battlefront. Oh no.
Especially because of you and I already owned the classic Battlefront 2 on Steam and have played it together anyway.
Yeah.
So, Tekken 8, I'm not going to go over it too much because I'm going to talk about it. Definitely not for the book club today. Because I haven't done anything else with my week. I mean, I have done other things with my week. But
just nothing fun.
The servers are terrible. The load times are terrible. They're so fucking long. And the controls for the menus and stuff like that are annoying. There's so many just annoying things about the base package that I hate.
Yeah.
And, like, why would you release it like that? Just make it more user-friendly, dude. And, like, have actual servers that connect properly. Lots of games release without good servers, like Helldivers. Now that one...
Is that game good?
That one's a different cause, because, like, you know, they didn't expect to have a massive fucking release.
Helldivers 1 was, like, sold, like, 8 copies.
Liam, here's the gist of it. Helldivers 2, that had, like, a 2 million, 3 million budget, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It has sold, like, 80 million, I think.
Yeah, it's very popular.
Like, it's pretty good. It's actually really fun. It's only $40. I have been playing it a lot. I mean, it is repetitive, fun. It's kind of got everything that you would want. They're putting a lot more content out, too. There's good variety. And it's simple. It's fucking easy to understand. Anybody's able to pick it up and play it. And people like it because of that. The initial server release... I think all these games, I think, have a problem, besides maybe Like a Dragon. I haven't heard anything about that. I think that game's just the same as the previous one.
I think it's just Yakuza, aka good.
Yeah, I was just gonna say people like that game. That's all
I
I
haven't played a single Yakuza game, but it's so up my alley, and I know that, so it's in that back catalog.
Helldivers, thumbs up. I've done nothing but kill bugs for like hours.
Pretty sure that's the game.
Yeah. Battlefront Collection. This one's much more interesting. I learned about this initially from my coworker at Home Depot. He came up to me and he's like, Shaymin, I'm so upset. I purchased Battlefront Collection and I couldn't fucking play it.
How expensive was it?
I think it was 40.
I think it's like
40, 50. I'll see.
I'm gonna open up my Steam.
It could be 30.
I can't do it on my desktop till your shit closes.
I gotta do it on my computer. No, not my computer.
Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection. Okay, 40.
Yeah, that's more than I would pay.
For a game that came out in, what, 2005? Well, a handful.
Yeah,
a small
and
collection
if
of
you're
games.
a PC person, they already exist.
Also, the servers are non-existent. They boast the fact that they are able to hold 64 players in one server. The problem is they only provided one server. Let me see.
So it's certainly true.
Let me see the actual numbers on that. I didn't. I kind of forgot to look that one up. I'm not gonna lie to you, but it was like kind of embarrassing. I think it was like 300 open slots or some crazy shit.
Which is a shame because if Battlefront deserves better.
I do think they're working to try to fix these problems as the developers. Hopefully, the developers are able to get their shit together, but pathetic
before their studio probably closes.
They won't get closed. They'll just be eaten. And all of them will be unemployed.
That's what I'm scared about with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. It's such a big.
I forgot to even bring that one up, but that game is disgustingly bad.
Rocksteady's gonna get
everyone's
gonna get cold. Yeah, Rocksteady's getting
that. Which again sucks because of the devs didn't come up with that idea.
No, they didn't want to. They definitely did not want to do a live service game, and Warner Brothers was like, "We gotta do it. You just gotta."
like the guy who's modeling Harley Quinn did not come up with the idea for this game.
Yeah,
no,
but he's probably the one who's going to get fired.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, and like Warner Brothers has doubled down and went, all right, so we're gonna like lean off of single player games and we're gonna do live service stuff, and it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? what is this?
So clearly not where the industry is
Dude, there's actually 364 servers. That's it. That's
awesome.
Wow.
There's 9,000 fans who wanted to play on release. That is not the same number.
Well, that's like embarrassingly low.
Yeah.
Because 9,000 isn't that high of a number for
isn't.
A release multiplayer game. That's not very ridiculous.
But why the hell are you even releasing an online server thing? Like, why have a server that you provide to your fans if you're not gonna fucking have any slots for it? Like,
yeah, right.
That's crazy. Whatever.
Now, do you think that was like a budget issue coming from up on high that were like, just get this fucking thing out? Or do you think it was just like mismanagement within the actual company re-releasing?
I'm never gonna directly blame developers, but this is incompetence.
I couldn't possibly see how this could be a developer issue. How from a mismanagement front, like, how could you think that would work? Like, it has to be a budget thing.
There's also loads of bugs, lag, server, whatever, performance issues.
It's either like the most nightmarish mismanagement from within the actual developer, or most likely
Z was the exec on this.
Yeah. Or it was something from on high where Disney was just like, get this out, we just need to release a Star Wars thing, why not?
Disgusting. Dragon's Dogma. I think its release was bad,
too. On that note.
Dragon's Dogma 2 looks really good.
I got the first one from Jules.
Yes, I love Dragon's Dogma. That's one of my favorites.
Dragon's Dogma's excellent.
Because it's one of those games that I've really wanted to play, and I'm like, oh, well, now I have a PS3, so I could probably play it. And Jules was just like, dude, I literally own it. Here you go.
Yeah, I'm probably going to play 2. If it's good.
I'm definitely going to play 2.
I've heard mixed things on this.
But its initial launch was bad, from my knowledge.
So I'll tell you what I know, who loosely followed it. I know that the initial reaction was a lot of people like going like, okay, it sucks, it's a buggy mess, unbalanced, blah blah blah, like technical issues. And then a bunch of other people I've seen online who are like a lot smaller being like, it's not really that bad. And since I haven't played it,
it's impossible to play.
I cannot comment.
I haven't done enough research on Dragon's Dogma 2 as well to be able to determine that.
But I know that people weren't super happy with it generally.
I think the fact that people who were everybody's super fucking excited for Dragon's Dogma 2. That was one of the biggest RPGs to come out in a while. I think the fact that it released and wasn't immediately up to a lot of people's standards.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, there's a Twitter hate following. They kind of immediately like to bounce back real quick. But, you know, some things to think about.
That's also just an issue with the industry right now. Is
all industries release like that.
Patch later type deal, which has recently become popular.
I think it's okay to be mad about this.
Yeah, one of the biggest things I gave Final Fantasy 16 is by God it was finished.
Yeah.
They did it. They released a game and it was done.
They didn't faff about. They didn't have any like weird performance issues, weird glitches, just unpolished shit. Servers with more than 200 people.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the biggest thing with Dragon's Dogma 2, just to throw my 2 cents from what I know, is that the main issue just kind of seems to be stemming from just kind of performance issues, at least on PC. Which some players were even talking about, like, you know, Capcom was like, oh, it might just be a problem with like the amount of NPCs currently in, so we could release an update for that. And people were like, well, if we just slaughter a bunch of NPCs in game, will that make the game run faster? And Capcom was like, I guess.
Theoretically, yeah.
Theoretically, yeah. But like, it looks fun. It looks like a lot of the same stuff that I loved about the first Dragon's Dogma, just expanded upon, with just a few like weird things here and there that could be hiccups. Like I saw like a weird death bug where like, you know, you face some type of enemy or something or other and you instantly die. I don't know. You know, like I saw
That's
a death
cool.
bug and I'm like, all right.
I'm excited for that game. Hopefully it's good. That being said,
I heard it's pretty decent.
We wrap up.
Yeah,
let's go to the next slide. So, what is the future of the industry? Grand Theft Auto 6 or Lethal Company?
Dude, GTA 6 is
that
the far
game,
future.
That
GTA
game
6 is coming out in 2036.
That game supposedly has a $2 billion budget, estimated. It's 1.6 to 2 billion. The game's gonna have probably the biggest map ever made. And it's gonna be probably one of the most monumental, important games to be released, technologically wise.
I think more than that.
That being said, however, is this the trend that the industry should be following when Lethal Company, a game that dropped out of fucking nowhere, was made by like 5 dudes, pretty much, and cost pennies, was able to make a lot of money?
Yeah,
I mean,
and make
like
a really fun fun experience for people. You know, and that's what you want out of a game. Just fun experience with friends.
I think the like Helldivers 2, for example, is another great example of a game that you're able to release. It's not bank breaking to fucking produce, and the production cycle will be better and healthier, and you're able to have a lot. But GTA 6 could be insanely good. Or
so I'll tell you what. GTA 6, I think, is gonna hit profitability, and then everyone's gonna follow that trend, and no one else is.
I don't think anybody else is gonna succeed.
I think the only reason it will work is because it's GTA 6.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because people have been waiting for this game since we were like in middle school.
Only other game that I think this will happen to is if people care about Elder Scrolls 6 when that drops. Which, to be frank, I don't anymore.
No, I think people are just so soured on Bethesda now, just in general.
Well, yeah.
And especially with, like, you know, the Microsoft
Starfield.
merger and Starfield and all that shit. People are just like, I'm good.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. We'll wait and see when we get close to release on that, because I feel like just because of it has the words Elder Scrolls on it,
some people might
change
get
a lot of people's minds.
Well,
but yeah, I think it would definitely be healthier to follow the Lethal Company route.
I mean, like, I think Helldivers again is a better example of this for traditional publishers, because that's like still a sizable budget, still a sizable team, whatever.
Yeah.
We'll see what the industry holds in the future, because right now, the successful games, from what we've seen, are not the giants. At least not all the time. There's definitely some people who come out and absolutely stomp the competition, like Baldur's Gate.
Mm-hmm.
That's not...
And wait, $1 billion?
Yeah.
So, let's hope GTA 6 is good, because if it isn't good, the people have talked a lot about like the game industry crashing and stuff like that. I don't think it's necessarily going to happen. If GTA 6 fails...
Well, do you think we're in a bubble in any way?
I think we've gotten a little stagnant. We've kind of got into the perpetual loop of make big thing, don't finish big thing, sell big thing.
Because of, as an industry, gaming revenue has overtaken movies.
Yeah, video games are making a lot of money.
By a lot. Do you think that will always continue to be the case? Or do you think it'll lag behind a little bit and like maybe more like even itself out? Not even necessarily a crash, but it'll maybe dip down and hit more of a natural level or something like that, or maybe movies catch up.
Video games are an art form, just like movies and comics and stuff like that. It's obviously never gonna leave. It's just here forever. But
until electricity is gone.
Until everything gets vaporized by the space lasers. Event. But you know, I don't think this stuff lasts forever. Mm-hmm. But the games industry will survive. I think it will change. I think there's substantial chance that these industries could potentially adopt different business practices. I think a lot of people have said that. Sony have said we're going to look at other things. Microsoft have said that too. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to try to be better or actually change.
It's just a stage of, they're trying to adapt to their environment.
Good news.
They're trying to see what leads to the next thing.
I didn't say this, by the way, in case I get a job in the industry. I don't want to do this. People have unionized.
By the way, guys,
people have unionized a lot in some of these different spaces that have especially toxic environments. And I mean, that's basically it. Like,
do you have any fears? I have a couple fears, especially with the inflated budgets. Not necessarily that they think the budget should go down.
I think
as far as stuff like we should scale back, maybe try and make smaller, less detailed maps, less detailed graphics and stuff like that, more focus on the gameplay. Are you more scared of them maybe like replacing employees with AI for stuff like crafting textures and models and stuff like that? Because I think that's definitely something
that's super realistic and
without being heavily curtailed by the audience. I'm scared that's I think more likely.
Yeah.
What I will say is, in the past, there has been loads of times where companies have lost a lot of people, like in the games industry. And sometimes when that happens, these groups of people go out and make new companies and end up being able to create something good and better. That's how, like, a lot of these companies started. I'm pretty sure EA started like that, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is in a much older
Atari,
time.
Right?
Yes, this is a much older example, and there has been examples of more recent ones.
Yeah.
It's possible, and I think, like, I know there's a lot of people who have lost their jobs, and it's, like, really unfortunate and sad. I do hope that some of these people who have the funding, have the capability, have the street cred, can work together and maybe change the industry in their own way. This is potential to actually proceed forward and make something better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, we're gonna leave it hopeful now.
Okay.
We're solid.
And that's
that was an hour. 50 minutes.
All right. I'd like to go next, I think, because of mine.
Yeah, there's a lot of overlap.
I would love to see it.
Cinema has fallen. It's over. It's over. The West is dead.
I can see this title is a lot better than mine.
Cinema has fallen. Liam goes epic mode. Let's take you behind the curtain real quick. This is the day.
That's when you made it?
This is when we're shooting this.
What?
So yeah, welcome to the production schedule, guys.
Whoa.
It's brutal out here.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
It's really brutal out here. So I want you guys to keep in mind that a film needs to make like about 2.5, maybe like 3 times its budget to really break even, because of a lot of gross and stuff like that goes to theaters, goes to advertising, like it goes to all these people.
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at a couple box office flops. Oh fuck. Okay. Indiana Jones. Budget of $295 million, a gross of $174 million. Brutal. Haunted Mansion, $150 million, gross $117 million. Brutal.
Yeah.
D&D, $150 million budget, a gross of $208 million. Now again, that sounds good, but that's not breaking even.
No, that's a bit unfortunate too.
Wish. Holy flop, Batman. Like Transformers, $200 million. It made $439 million, which is not as bad of a failure as some of the other ones. I think this one kind of got a little close.
That's probably the one that's closest to succeeding, but it's still Transformers.
I want to put this in Beau is Afraid, because I want to just show that it's not just franchise filmmaking in general. Beau is Afraid is an A24 art house type of deal.
Yeah.
With Joaquin Phoenix in it, and they gave this movie $35 million, and it made $11 million.
What?
Yeah.
It's brutal out here.
It's brutal, yeah.
For the record, that film did not need $35 million.
No.
They didn't need it. So what are we seeing with this?
Slaughter. Lots of negative numbers. Lots of red.
We're seeing a lot of red right now in this industry. A lot of red.
Technically, the D&D movie's supposed to.
Well, no, because again, it's
it needs 2.5 the budget.
So all these are.
You gotta include marketing in there too.
All these are in the red right now. I have another slide about some greens, but this is what we're looking at in the reds. And I think a couple things that are worth noting is many of these are attached to established franchises.
Yes.
Indiana Jones, Haunted Mansion is a stupid ass Disney ride.
What's D&D?
Never heard of Dungeons and Dragons. Transformers. This is like the 8th Transformer movie at this point, or something like that. I don't really care.
Yeah,
I think it's actually 13th, but whatever.
I don't care. I stopped watching after the 4th one, which was a lot further than I should have.
I stopped at 3. Yeah. I stopped at the.
And
right
again,
time.
there are exceptions. Again, Beau is Afraid is an art house film, and Wish, while not technically, it's if you count Disney movies themselves as a franchise, I guess it's kind of more of a brand.
I would say Disney's a brand.
Franchise.
Yeah.
But that's bad.
Another thing we're looking at is these are all very, especially, dude, half this budget probably went to making Harrison Ford not look like a corpse.
Yeah, half of this is visual effects.
A lot of this.
The puppeteered skeleton of Harrison Ford riding on the back of a horse.
A lot of these movies are swinging big.
Yeah.
All right, they're trying to get home runs right now because of the model that the film industry is taking is very much, and not to say that this hasn't already been the trend, but blockbusters have taken over. Your movie's either massive or it's not worth making.
Yes.
And it almost always has to be attached to a franchise. Again, I wanted to show that there's an exception to this rule. Superhero movies have never done worse.
Yeah.
We're looking at The Flash for a budget of $220 million and a gross of $271 million, which actually shocked me. And I fact-checked that number a bunch of times because I actually thought the gross was even lower.
Hey,
it did better
than it should have.
Internationally,
overseas. Yeah,
that's going to be the case with a lot of these. So,
Aquaman 1 made $1 billion because it was so big in China.
It's so insane to me, honestly.
The Marvels flop, Blue Beetle flop, Aquaman 3 flop, Shazam 2 flop, Aquaman 2 got close.
You said Aquaman
twice. It did get, yeah.
So this is an
I believe they released Aquaman 3 before 2.
Yeah, it was a really bold decision of them.
A bold move.
Dude, with the way that DCU was shaking out, Aquaman 3 is before 2 makes complete sense.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
Superhero, again, I don't consider superhero a genre, but when you're looking at these movies, superhero is a genre. It's kind of because these are all like
they're formulaic.
They're all the same.
Type of
movie.
Western, anyone?
And what are we seeing again? Well, we'll get to that. I want to talk about that in a minute. So we are looking at a lot of big budget films from both DC and Marvel at this point. It used to be the case that DC was doing flops and Marvel was breaking in all the money, but that's not really the case right now.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of all are failing. So when has been a discussion for probably at this point like between like 5 to like 7 years probably of like the idea of superhero fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
I think we could talk about that for a little bit. Do you guys believe in superhero fatigue?
Yes and no.
I believe in terms of cinema, in terms of the movies, I believe that superhero fatigue is just more so based upon the quality of these movies, how formulaic, how assembly line press put together, corporate they feel, you know?
Do we got a special guest coming in?
Nah.
Spider-Man!
Spider-Man.
He's here! He's here for
He's here to talk about superhero fatigue!
And again, this isn't all of the superhero films, but I think
what worked with superhero movies before was that they were doing new things with these characters that people hadn't seen on the screen before, and now they're just spinning their same wheels, you know? Because they were really getting comic booky with like Infinity War and shit, with like all these characters crossing over, and then after Endgame you see just a kind of stark nosedive because it's just like,
all right, we're done with these characters.
Yeah, exactly. Like people decided for Marvel that they were done.
Mm-hmm. So as far as superhero fatigue, the concept is concerned, I generally agree that it's not really fatigue on the idea of superheroes in general. It is fatigue of the same movie over and over and over and over and over again. Because holy fucking shit, dude.
How many of these are origin stories or whatever the fuck?
Blue Beetle.
I think just Blue Beetle.
Okay.
Flash
is like half an origin story.
Yeah.
Not even the Marvels?
No, the Marvels
because Ms. Marvel was
established
introduced in her own show,
and
then the other character.
Monica Rambeau existed already, and Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers already existed.
I mean, plot-wise, is it just superhero movie plot for all these, pretty much? Villain, destroys things?
Well, let's just go over in general what people are tired of. So, first off, I think we can all agree these movies are almost all aiming for the exact same tone.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all boring.
They're same kind of, like, boring, sanitized, like
fun
MCU, like film. Yeah, it's like fun action film with like quippy, quirky characters that don't really have a lot of separation in personality at a certain point. Like even the Flash with fucking Michael Keaton Batman, like you don't even really feel like that's Batman. You're like, oh, this is just a guy.
Oh, Michael Keaton.
Yeah, also because he spends half the movie as like a PS2 character.
Can he move his neck though?
In the cutscenes, I think.
Yeah,
in
the cutscenes.
But yeah, so it's a huge tone issue. For me, a lot of it is tone, is that every single one of these movies are shot the same. They're all generally very ugly. The CGI is horrible.
There's gray.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that we are all looking at big budgets here, especially the Marvels
is the biggest budget on there,
and it's ugly.
Yeah, it's rough.
That movie looks gross.
That one was in MS Paint, right?
Yeah. So a big thing with a lot of these movies, in particular about budget, is I literally don't know where all of this is going.
Yeah.
I literally don't know where this money is going.
I think at this point,
to the stars.
We're exactly. It's we're in a superstar era where they're reusing, like Hollywood's reusing like the same 20 or 30 people and just going, all right, how much money do you want? All right, we'll pay more than that guy. Sure. Here's $30 million of our $270 million budget film.
Most speaking on casting in particular, when the MCU was like fresh, most casting choices were not much higher than like a C-list celebrity.
Yeah.
I'd say the most probably high level celebrities they got were Robert Downey Jr. and Samuel Jackson.
Yeah. That's because Sam Jackson was literally like reading
Please put
the
me
Ultimates,
in this. Yeah.
And it was like, wait a minute, that's me. I'm Nick Fury. All right, I'll be Nick Fury.
Yeah, he didn't audition. He came to the studios with a copy of the Ultimates and said, "It's me in the book. Simple as." And they said, "All right, well, you got it."
Yeah.
Which, fair.
Yeah.
But a lot of these movies are hitting the same tone. They're so poorly put together with their cinematography and their CGI. A lot of their budget is going to star power and stuff like that. Like, think of how much money went to Ezra Miller's court fees.
Another thing that I want to note with these superhero movies real quick is that, like, for example, Spider-Man 4 has been getting a lot more announcement lately, just in terms of the rumor mill starting to brew back up. And they're saying that filming is supposed to start later this year, or like early next year.
Do you guys believe that?
And they don't even have a director yet. They're still looking for a director, and they don't even mention who's writing the script. They're just like, script's done, just gotta do the next thing.
Spider-Man wrote it.
Yeah, Spider-Man did it himself. It was J. Jonah Jameson.
So
it's a hit piece.
We'll get into that in a second. But yeah, it's getting bad out here. Here we're talking about why.
Yeah.
So they we as a people in our economy don't have as much money to spend on fucking movies as we once did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most people do not have as much like leisurely cash lying around to spend on non-essentials.
Yeah.
Just as a society, that's the truth. Yet simultaneously, movie theaters have been charging more and more and more and more and more for you to go to a movie theater, which is means we're going in two opposite directions.
Yeah.
And this isn't the type of business that can afford to only have a couple guys come in every once in a while. It doesn't work that way. They need a lot of people coming in. I'll even just share my story. I shared the Doom 2 story on this podcast, right?
No.
For when I went to go see it?
You did.
Yeah.
Okay, well, again, like that. So I went to go see Doom 2 in theaters. We paid, me and my two brothers and my dad, we all went. It costs like $60, and we got snacks on top of that, so I don't know how much that cost. And then the movie shut off in the climax because the power went out. Like, these guys are making no money.
Yeah.
We need to lower these ticket prices. So because of that dichotomy between like the average person and their salary and movie prices right now, people are not going. And so that's really tanking performances. COVID happened. We all know what COVID is, I think.
Yeah.
I think by now YouTube doesn't care if we say it.
Will we get demonetized? Without our monetization?
Yeah. I'll cut it if it happens. I'll cut this segment and blur the word out.
Yeah.
You know what it is.
You know what it is, guys.
The sicky icky.
The sicky icky. But naturally, when the world is shut down for 2 years,
yeah,
that throws a lot of things off. So what you were saying as far as like, oh, they don't even have like a director and they aren't saying who the scriptwriter is. COVID really threw off the MCU's plans a shit ton.
Oh yeah.
Really badly. And DC too, but DC already was fumbling, so no one cares.
Yeah.
A lot of people who are doing this shared universe stuff, their plan got delayed by 2 years. They lost a lot of people. They lost a lot of money because of that. And it set everything back a lot. And we're still dealing with that as an industry to this day, trying to catch up to where we were prior to this happening.
Yeah.
Inflated budgets, as we saw previously.
Yeah, they're pretty big.
These movies are expensive as shit to make, and in this day and age of higher competition, not everyone's gonna be a winner.
Yeah.
But everyone's spending money like they're gonna be that big winner, and I'm sorry, Indiana Jones 5 is not gonna be that big winner. It's just not. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You guys can't all be spending that type of money. Like, every single one of these is a guaranteed success, because of now it's no longer a guarantee.
Well, the $2 million went to Harrison Ford. The rest of the money went to the movie. I mean, the 200.
Yeah. Yeah, they only had a budget like $8 million to work with.
Changing tastes. So, like we were already talking about, we are getting tired of the same movie over and over and over again. And this actually extends past the MCU. So a lot of mainstream blockbuster films are the same exact movie over and over again. They're very similar. And one thing I'd also even like to talk about is this like divergence between movies and films, which I don't think really existed as much. Elitists have always been around. All right, like I know, I've studied it, but like there has never been a bigger. If Jaws came out today, it would not be taken as seriously as it is now. Star Wars, when it came out, was considered like this innovative, like game-changing, like film. It was taken seriously by a lot of people. Star Wars right now is like
the punching bag of cinema.
You'd hesitate to use the word cinema for it.
What percent
or film or anything like that?
What percentage of Star Wars content that is released is even good?
Cumulatively or just right now?
Yes.
Cumulatively, 30%. Right now, 8%.
I mean, Battlefront released that part of that percent.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's been this sort of divergence between you either have to be an art house film or you have to be a cheap schlocky blockbuster, and that didn't necessarily have to be the case before. Like blockbusters still existed, but people like right now you say like, oh well, this film deserves an Oscar. Like someone would say like, hey, I think this superhero film would deserve an Oscar. You would get laughed out of the fucking room.
Yeah.
But before, like a blockbuster like Jurassic Park was totally taken seriously as like an actual fucking movie. There were critiques, of course. It wasn't lauded by absolutely everybody universally, but a lot of people just treated it like a real movie.
Yeah.
And right now that there's a huge split between you either make a real movie or you make it like a blockbuster. And that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. And it mostly comes from the fact that I think everyone is sort of agreeing to this system and agreeing to go watch these schlocky movies.
Yeah.
Because of the reason why people laugh at you if you say an MCU movie should win an Oscar usually is because they don't actually deserve it.
Yeah.
In the same way that like blockbusters used to actually give a shit in a lot of regards.
They used to have like good shot choices and great composition and beautiful scores and really nice color grading. And then now you look at
blockbusters used to be defined by looking better.
Yeah. Like you look at Jurassic Park, you're like, damn, this looks like a movie. And then you look at the Marvels, and then you're like,
wow, this looks like shit.
This looks gray. Look at how boring this composition. It looks like a higher budget like Disney Channel original show or like a Nickelodeon show where everything's so pulled out. It's nothing but mid shots and long shots and like the occasional close up for like
shot
a reaction.
Shot generally,
shot reverse shot. They're just going back and forth. Like
action scenes are always quick cut and hard to follow and muddied up. Like blockbusters used to be characterized by, since they had a higher budget, they were able to make films look really good. And that's not the case anymore. And we as a society have let that happen when it's not necessarily, it does not have to be this way. And people are moving away from that blockbuster, I think, a little bit. I think people are starting to get a little tired.
Yeah.
Which is good. I'm tired. Are you tired?
Dude, I'm always tired. No, but like the more of the films I've been wanting to see recently is like, you know,
something slower
like,
paced.
Yeah, no, just something smaller scale, something that's not a huge fucking budget blockbuster movie. You know, like I've been seeing a lot more like, I guess not really indie, but like, you know, your A24s or whatever, you know, like all your smaller budget, more art housey, like just more sincere stuff.
Unless this one isn't really that.
No, that was I didn't like Beau is Afraid.
No one did.
It was whatever.
But yeah, I know exactly what, like I don't go to the movies anymore for blockbusters at all. And the thing is, they don't show like a lot of art house quote unquote films in theaters that much.
Yeah.
So
we'll have limited runs where you're like, oh man, I'm strapped for cash this week. I get paid next week. Oh, it's already.
So I guess I'm not. Yeah, I guess I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think we're gonna actually expand a little bit on how we're seeing that develop in a minute. But another thing I want to talk about is the horrible advertising.
Dude, advertisements for movies suck so much ass.
They have never been so bad. That's
what
not
was
true.
it? It was
in the early 2000s. They were pretty bad.
New York subway for the Northman, where they had like the big like painting or like big like advertisement, and didn't have the fucking title of the movie or when it was coming out. It was just Viking Nordic men staring at you in the subway on the wall, and it's just like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Advertising companies are fucking stupid right now, and I sorry, it's just the truth. And there is another reason, we'll get to that in a second, but first off, with the increase of like social media usage and internet usage in general and browsing the internet, a lot of advertising has moved to like social media ads. But I don't know about y'all, but when a trailer comes before my YouTube video, I'm inclined to never watch that movie in my life.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
They never come before my YouTube videos because I don't watch ads.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Dude.
It is bad.
So there's that. A lot of movies also just don't get a lot of advertising. I don't know. I'll be honest. A lot of the times when someone asks me like, "Hey, did you go see that movie?" My first response is, "Oh, that's out now."
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Even like fucking Disney movies now.
Oh, dude, yeah.
I didn't realize Wish came out at all, and then it flopped, and I was like, cool. You know, like I didn't realize like when Indiana Jones 5 was coming out, I was like, oh man, I might see that. And then it came out, and I was like, oh shit, that's out. Like, it's so bad.
I think there's a couple reasons for this. First off, I think a little bit of overcrowding.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people are trying to occupy the same slots. And just, again, like you're saying, like, advertisers not being nearly as careful in what information they're giving you.
No, they don't care.
Like, Northman didn't have the name of the show or when it was dropping.
Yeah.
Doctor Who, the new season's coming out soon. We didn't find out when it was dropping until, like, a week ago.
Yeah.
and it's coming out in, like, a month and a half.
That should have been hyped up for like half a year.
Yeah, it should have, and they've announced the new season since like a year or two ago. Like that can't fly.
There's such a large disconnect, and I'll bring it up when we talk comics because there's a little bit of disconnect there as well, where they'll announce something, and even in games they'll announce something. That's a connecting factor across all of our medias here. They'll announce something like 2 years or a year before it comes out. Just radio silence, no hype, no advertising, and then for at best 3 months before that thing comes out, they'll start advertising it.
Exactly, and you know what? By that point, my hype is dead.
Yeah, you gotta keep
because you failed. You should not really be, and it's because of this again internet culture with leak culture. where a lot of people are trying to be the first to reveal a detail of a piece of media to get clicks. And so what that really evolves into is people just spoiling everything they can about something before the thing is even out.
And it even steals advertising work from people in a way, because like, oh, that thing got revealed, that just gives us more hype and traction for our movie, let's just not even bother advertising.
But that's not true, because the thing is, reading it on an article where Booty Sniffer 245 has leaked that Spider-Man is actually gonna kill the Hobgoblin in this movie, or the Hobgoblin's even gonna be in the movie, it is not as hype as just watching a trailer and then I see him for the first time.
Yeah.
I'll say this for an advertising campaign that really worked well for me. When Smash Ultimate dropped in like 2017, the advertising dropped, I was in the middle of my general science class with a couple friends, and we watched the Nintendo Live of them with the "Everyone is here" and them showing every single character, and we were yelling at the top of our lungs at like 1:30.
Yeah,
watching this because of no one just. Well, that's not true. Maybe it did get leaked, but like. It was exciting because of this was a cool way of introducing it, and that doesn't happen as much anymore. People just find out. One thing that's happening right now is people are on the hunt to leak the new Superman suit.
Yes.
And I think it's leading a lot because of this drip feed of information this way. It's also causing a lot of advertisers to try and get a lot of information out early before it really naturally would make sense to do that, and it causes the hype to die down way too quick.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to string people along with that advertising, and because of that leak culture, it kills it. You don't get any suspense, you don't get any excitement building up to it. You just get everything front loaded to you. And another thing with like trailers is bad trailers that just show
trailers are so bad now.
Everything in the movie basically, or at least tell you the entire arc of the plot, and then you're like, I'll have to see that now. And I know generally what happens.
There's a couple trailers that literally just spoil the endings of their movies.
Yeah.
It's really bad. It's really bad. Trailers have never been worse. I'm just going to say it right now. They have never been worse than they are right now.
You think they're worse, too. That's interesting. I know trailers, there's always been bad trailers. Let's be real.
So, the 2000s had pretty bad trailers.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But mostly because of their just cringe.
Coming soon. To a theater near you.
Coming soon. The story of a dog. And
and
his best friend. But things get a little quirky.
A little frisky.
Record stop sound. But yeah, they were more cringy. But the release schedule made more sense. Trailers used to drop maybe like a month, like 2 months, 3 months before the movie came out. Maybe like 1 month even. I don't know.
I mean, back then they were on all your DVDs that you ever owned.
Yeah, that too. But yeah, I think trailers are way worse now because they just show you the whole movie.
Yeah.
Even like what we were just talking about, that trailer just gave you the premise.
Yeah.
So yeah, are they cringe? Absolutely. But maybe I'll still go see the movie if I thought the movie sounded interesting. But there are so many movies that will, even like a thing that they do now, speaking of like feeding information wrong, they'll show characters that would have been way cooler to just find out were in the movie by watching the movie.
Yeah.
And I just showed them in the trailer, and it's like, oh, club shit-oh!
It's better not to watch trailers nowadays. It's just not
I don't generally.
Yeah.
I don't.
No, my girlfriend, has like told me not to send her trailers anymore because if there's a movie she wants to see, she'd rather just go see it in the theater.
And she's right.
She's right. Yeah.
I generally avoid movie trailers if I can. Sometimes I'll watch game trailers because I think since games are so big.
Yeah, games usually have a lot more to them.
It doesn't usually have that same issue.
At least with the story. Because usually there's 3 different types of trailers for games. There's either PNG, fake CGI, or actual fucking gameplay.
Yeah.
And we all know the gameplay one's the best, but...
Nah, I like that PNG. Ready for Metroid 4? I think that's coming out in 2024.
Yeah, sure. For the record, guys, by the time I think we're recording this, we're about 3 days off from when Spider-Verse 3 is supposed to drop. originally.
Yeah.
What? Spider-Verse
Yeah,
3 is coming out in 3 days? Shit, we gotta get ready for the podcast. We gotta fucking hurry up.
No.
We gotta get our
That's so
review out.
funny that they were like, yeah, we could get this.
Let's hold
this
that.
whole
Let's
other
hold that.
movie.
Let's hold that. Streaming. We've already talked about cinema prices are way too high. Streaming prices are getting higher, but they're still significantly lower. I'm just gonna watch it on streaming. Simple as. Simple as. And because of streaming is a new frontier, a lot of people don't get that money. So that's pretty bad. Speaking of, the writer's strike. The writer's strike is another reason why. Shout out to the writers out there. We really were striking for real.
Yeah, you guys got problems right now.
I was technically striking, but not really because I don't sell scripts to people. Anyway, like I'm in the industry, and everyone was like, "Liam, we're gonna strike." I was like, "Okay," but I don't have a job in the industry that's like steadier than like gig work, and I already don't sell scripts and stuff like that at this current moment. So I was just like, I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm already doing and just go like, "Fuck yeah."
Yeah, you just strike for fun.
Yeah, I'm just like I don't even have to. Like I was in a position, fortunately, where this is not currently where all my money comes from, and so I was okay. But absolutely, clearly, all support to the writers, and we won.
Yes,
mostly.
Mm.
It lasted from May 2nd to September 27th, which is, I think, tied for second place of the longest writer's strike ever to happen.
Yeah, that's really long.
I think there's one more. So, don't expect movies with terrible writing and terrible planning to fix anytime soon because of
writers weren't working for that long.
Writers weren't working for like the better part of a year.
Their job to fix the movie didn't happen.
So you know when we were trying to catch up with COVID, didn't happen now. We just got pushed back even further.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons I think they haven't said who wrote the Spider-Man script. I think it was a Scab.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I would be willing to bet it's a Scab. Now this was caused by the threat of artificial intelligence, poor pay just in general, no residuals from streaming, and really bad job security. Like you do not have job security as a writer in the Hollywood system unless you are like one of the absolute top dogs.
If you write everything, yeah.
Yeah, if you're like one of the big writers. So this left a lot of writers in really shaky positions. Like it for most people who weren't those top dogs, it was not feasible for it to be a job anymore. Like the career was in danger of dying out.
Yeah.
And I know a couple people have been going like, oh, well, with how bad movies have been recently, might as well let them be written by AI. Okay, cool. So that it just doesn't solve the issue, though. That's just you surrendering to the fact that movies will just now suck forever because of it's easy for you to not have to think about it anymore.
Yeah.
Which is just cringe. I'm sorry. That's just a lame opinion to have.
What if we only made bad movies from now on for the rest of reality?
AI is cringe for this type of deal. I'm sorry, guys. It's cringe. It's cringe for you to be like, well, since movies are already so bad, we might as well. Instead of
might as well just keep them
listen,
bad.
That's an L take. That's funny.
It was a very common take. I knew a lot of people who were saying that. It's like, frankly, I think just super lame and stupid because that doesn't fix the issue of bad writing, and it doesn't make it better. What it does is it just damns you to that forever.
Yeah,
we'll just never have good writing now.
What if every movie was made?
What does AI take from other sources? Like, it's not throwing the shit by itself. Like it's taking stuff from other shit that exists.
It won't
so it's just feeding itself more shit. Yeah.
The only thing it can do is degrade by feeding off of its own data and getting worse. It won't get better.
Yeah.
Now, when you think about it, if you pay someone more for their job and their security is a little better, it might be more likely that you get better products and with how shitty is specifically like the studio system treats writers for like universe projects, like franchises, where it's so fast. No shit, the writing sucks. because if they write these films in like 6 months,
Yeah.
like lightning quick, like maybe, no, even less than 6 months sometimes. Shout out to the whatever, or firefighter or ambulance. But yeah, like people are turning through these scripts really quickly. They're doing very few drafts because of why bother? Why bother when you're making no money and you have no time? You won't get paid more if the script is better. Mm-hmm. If the pay is dog water, and the better choice for you is to just take as many scripts as you can make to get more money, that's what you're gonna do. So it obviously set back like a ton of projects. The DC DC universe in particular, since it was just starting out when the strike happened, got noticeably set back, which we know because of James Gunn live blogs every single step of the process of making these movies.
Deadpool 3.
Deadpool 3. So I got
Deadpool 3 was recording or like filming stuff while the writer strike was going on.
Yeah, but the reason
their whole thing is that they weren't allowed to
improvise,
do any improv,
which is the whole thing that makes Deadpool 1 and 2 funny, is Ryan Reynolds just riffing, which is why I was scared and I'm not super excited for Deadpool 3. I think it was Angelo who talked me a little bit out of it, saying like, dude, he's wearing a mask, they could dub over it later. Yeah,
and then also Ryan Reynolds is listed as one of the writers on the movie, so he could have potentially flubbed some of the rules for himself and just kind of wrote in whatever improv came out,
I mean, that's still against strike guidelines, though, if you're doing it during the strike, so I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I will choose to believe he, because if you get that credit if you're an improver, if you improv, a lot,
Yeah.
You would get, so in Deadpool 1 and 2, if he didn't get that credit, he's technically supposed to have it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So this strike happened, it lasted for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It lasted forever. They did outlast the executives on this. And make no mistake, the executives were planning on
they were
letting them run out. They were planning on letting them run their course,
just let them starve to death.
Replacing them. But because everyone held together on this and stuff, we ended up winning a lot of protections against AI and stuff like that, so that the sanctity of human input and creativity will still exist within movies somewhat.
Yeah, humans can still make art now.
People will not just be automatically replaced by machines within the next couple of years or something like that.
It's just the foreseeable future.
I think a little base pay, I couldn't verify for sure on residuals. I think the residuals are better. And more job security, which is great. Because of it set things back even further, I would say we should expect a lot more duds coming up.
Yeah.
It's also a reason I would say, well, I was calling back earlier, there's another reason advertising sucked, because as part of the writer's strike, a lot of actors who are part of the guild or friends of the guild, in solidarity, decided not to do press to advertise the movies they were in. This is specifically really hurt Haunted Mansion.
Yes.
Yeah, I forgot that was a film.
Because of
Haunted Mansion has
that,
a huge cast too.
It was pretty much the only selling point of the movie.
Was the
cast,
big name cast,
and the cast refused to even talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So that tanked a lot of movies in the past year or so.
Mm-hmm.
But fret not, dear viewer, not all is lost.
Yeah, let's see the good ones. Come on.
Barbie, with a budget of 145 mil, made 1.45 billion in gross. Holy shit!
Yeah.
Cinema's back. We're back. And it is technically part of a franchise, and it will develop into sort of like a connected universe thing because
Mattel.
Because Mattel always, because movie companies
Mattel
always learn the wrong lessons from success.
Especially Warner Brothers.
That's all executives.
Mario, 100 mil budget, 100.3, no, not 100, 1.36 bill.
Yes.
Gross.
That one's pretty expected.
Oppenheimer, 100 mil budget, 964 mil gross. A superhero movie the only superhero movie that was live action that did well. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 had 250 mil budget, 845 mil gross. Fast 10 apparently still does good in theaters.
Look at that fucking budget,
I don't think Fast and
though.
Furious can physically.
What an insane budget.
What if they just add more budget there? For the next one.
So this still might be cutting it close, though, mathematically.
No, that's close to. I think that's just breaking even, though.
This was a list of gross that I pulled from up to a certain point, up until I hit about here, and I just wanted to. We'll get to that in a second. Spider-Verse. It did pretty okay. We did pretty good with Spider-Verse. Wonka. Apparently, this movie did good.
Yeah.
Which one of you guys went to Wonka?
Not me.
Not me.
I'm not a theater kid.
Who went to Wonka? My mom wanted to see it really bad. She's like, that movie looks really good. And I'm not even kidding. I turned to her and just went, really?
I mean, I'd try it. I mean, people like it.
People said that they enjoyed it. Yeah, it's a fun musical.
Out of the ones on the list right now,
Timothy Chalamet hate. No Timothy Chalamet hate, but he in every trailer I've seen, he looks too intentionally quirked.
I think it's the trailers though. That could be.
He's trying so. Yeah, I think the trailers should make him look like he's trying so hard.
I mean, out of the ones here listed, I think that's the most interesting one for me to see if I were to go to the theater today.
I want to show you guys a couple things in particular. These last couple.
Okay.
Five Nights at Freddy's with a budget of $20 million made a gross of $297 million. Godzilla Minus One, a $12 million budget, $110 million gross.
Dude, that movie looked so visually good.
So let's go back to where is this money going? Because holy shit, 12 million? Let's go back to
yeah, where the fuck is 12 million?
Let's go back to the marbles. 270 mil.
Sincerely,
so much better. Where's the money going?
Gorgeous movie,
so it's being spent properly.
It really proves one thing. It proves one thing, that it's not that
embezzling funds.
It's that Disney is embezzling money. It's that budget does not equal quality whatsoever. It doesn't. This $12 million budget movie looks fucking gorgeous. One of the most stunning films ever.
For special effects.
It looks better than all of those expensive budget movies that flopped. It's embarrassing because it is made by people who have the time and the talent to do what they need. When in the MCU Hollywood system, people are rushing, getting everything out the door as fast as they can. You know, Marvel is responsible for the closing of 30 plus animation studios.
Yeah.
Because of their movies.
No, that's the workers.
It's the workers'
fault. A lot
of
the VFX houses have refused work from Marvel now. Because before it used to be this glamorous thing of oh boy, we get to work in this big box office, smash hit.
But you burn out
now
your employees. The budget is super low. No one wants to do it. And then they get shit on when the movie comes out because it looks bad. So it brings a bad reputation to your studio. So Marvel is responsible for the closure of a ton of studios.
Yeah.
200 million a year, Kevin Feige.
Shout out to Kevin.
Yeah, Kev.
Shout out to Kevin. He's doing a great job right now.
Yeah, he could make a movie with his
you need that much
salary. Nah, just put it in the movie.
Kev?
Nah.
Bob Iger, do you need that much?
So I want to talk about this. Speaking of numbers, there's the go woke, go broke fallacy, which is just so infuriatingly anti-math.
Dude, it's so.
No.
I'm gonna bring up
the
some
equation
of that
right now.
The comic,
come on.
But...
Okay, here, Barbie.
You're broke.
Your Barbie went broke, guys. Barbie by what people mean by woke is such a woke movie by what their definition, unless their definition literally just means racial minority.
Yeah.
Even Little Mermaid 2, where Little Mermaid is in the green, it made profit.
They did not go woke.
Were also mad, like they made it go woke.
Spider-Verse was everyone got mad that Spider-Verse was woke because it had one trans flag in it. Spider-Verse did not go broke. Mario, people. So the problem is, too, a lot of people call movies with anything other than just like a bunch of take you behind the curtain. This is a leftist podcast. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, sorry
guys.
Sorry, yeah.
If you couldn't tell, people would even call we're calling the Mario movie woke when it first came out. Somehow, I think because the Princess Peach wasn't damsel in distress.
Yeah, it's because Princess Peach actually
walked around. Girl bossing too hard,
and she wasn't even girl bossing that hard in the movie too. No, she kind of didn't really do much. Yeah.
She was just chilling for half the movie.
She was kind of just a normal person.
So the only ammo people have for go woke, go broke is that 2 or 3 Marvel movies did bad, and I'll tell you what.
It's because they were shit movies.
I have not gone to theaters to see a lot of these movies, not because of there are women or minorities in them, but because they just look plain awful. Is it possible? Is it maybe possible that some of these films failed because they weren't very good? Because they weren't very good. It's just it's mathematically just not true.
Yeah.
But it's so annoying that it's such a persisting sentiment. Because it's not true. It just... Almost Oppenheimer most likely was not called woke, I will admit. A lot of these movies on here have been called woke. But
Godzilla?
they did fine. Yeah, Godzilla's super woke.
Godzilla's woke as shit, dude.
Yeah, it's so woke.
People, when they find out Godzilla's a woman... they made Godzilla woke!
Yeah.
Yeah, that is such a crazy fallacy.
You can even see,
for an example,
it's woke. Even, right now, is an example of, this isn't film, this is TV, but, X-Men went woke, guys. Did you guys hear X-Men went woke?
Yeah, no fucking way. X-Men went woke,
let me strangle you right here. X-Men has been woke since the 60s.
Dude, X-Men was woke on arrival.
X-Men was woke on arrival, and it sold an X million amount of copies, comics and movies and toys and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the show itself that is currently being complained about is doing great. It's doing great.
Yeah, and it's a revival of a show that, if the original show came out now, would also be called woke because of so many of the messages within the original 90s cartoon.
One thing that actually made me beat my head against the wall almost is we're going back to Dune. I was reading I was on Instagram and someone did a post. They were this Islamic person and they were talking about the connections of Dune to Islamic culture, and people were always a victim complex with you guys. They were literally not based off of Islam. The Fremen were not based off of Islam. You guys are just inserting yourself in their fantasy. How stupid are you? There's this one thing going around, this sort of
I can't.
anti-intellectualist movement about the term media literacy. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Angelo's nodding, so I think he's seen it. Where people will go media literacy is a term for people to just call you stupid. And then from the make up woke stuff. No. So I'm just gonna go with a couple things right now. You know how? So I'll even agree on some point that sometimes things go a little far and aren't very subtle with their social messaging. Do you know why that happens?
It's not because the social message.
It's not because the social messaging is new. The social messaging is not new. It's because when they did it subtly, like you're asking, you didn't fucking get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You were too stupid to understand. I'm sorry. Your literacy, your ability to read the messaging, was not strong enough. And so they had to do it not subtly. And now you want them to do it subtly, but you're too stupid to understand it when they do. Sorry.
Dude, a nightmarish thing that I'm seeing from X-Men 97 is people agreeing with the literal neo-Nazi fascist, like, anti-mutant executioner who's like, I hate mutants and you're whining. All you do is whine. And it's like,
because you're killing us!
Us normal people have it tough too. It's like, bro, you are literally putting us in camps and killing us and made giant robots to hunt us. What do you mean you have it hard?
No, he kind of spitting though, honestly.
No, people are like, yeah, I gotta pay taxes too. And then it's like, thank God you don't have a giant robot breathing down your neck though. Like, what? Like,
it's just such a... It's literally an anti-intellectualist movement.
It is.
Of people who are stupid and proud of it.
They don't want to progress and try to learn
It's
about
because
other
of people are unable to comprehend things other than subtext. They can only read text. Yeah. But they get mad when the text doesn't agree with them.
It's because I don't know. They don't want to listen to other points of view. In actuality, that's the real reason. Mm-hmm. You can't, because
and this isn't
you'll
even
get
just
upset.
Coming from this isn't even just coming from a straight up left leaning thing.
No,
I'll be honest. I'm a big fan of the comic book The Dark Knight Returns. And you know what? The Dark Knight Returns is a Republican book. Yeah, I would argue that it's a very Republican book. I still love that book and its themings and how that story is told. You can even see a lot of people within this sphere don't get even the right-wing messages from that story. Yeah. Like, it's not even political, it's just some people are just so bad at reading themes.
Yeah.
So what next? I personally...
How do we fix the industry? All of it.
I personally feel like it's going to get a little worse before it gets better. Because it just has to. Because of the writer's strike and trying to catch up with COVID. Theaters are...
they're not going to go extinct, but it's like, there's going to be a lot more closures.
I think theaters are going to become more of a specialty thing. So, like, a theater is very ritzy, and you only go to theaters once a year, and it's going to be a nice-ass experience, and it's going to be treated more as a special occasion instead of just how movies are going to be seen. I think that's just how it's going to happen. I have a feeling that film budgets are going to continue to be this high for a while because of the people who are in charge of these budgets are not very good at figuring out that this isn't working. Eventually, they're gonna.
Once
they're gonna get fired, and someone else is gonna.
Yeah, once they get a few years of seeing all their numbers go down, eventually they'll pick up something.
Mm-hmm. But then, after a while, I have a feeling that we are going to be seeing the budget of movies in general be going down. I think we are going to be seeing more art house things because with the success of Oppenheimer and stuff like that. Like, we're seeing A24's explosion into the scene and stuff like that, or A24, depending on how you say it. I don't really care. It's clear that people are starting to crave not the same movie and over again. And you'll even look at the superhero movies that did well. Spider-Verse is doing a very... at this point, I wouldn't even say it's doing a very different thing because everyone's copying it.
Yeah.
It's the one who started the thing. Yeah.
But it started this trend. It's the one that has done it the best so far. It's the highest quality product. Guardians 3, the cap end of a really high quality trilogy. You're going to have to start learning to make these movies good again or they're not going to make money.
Yeah.
Stuff like the Batman and Joker on DC's end do real well because they're not the same movie repackaged over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. So I think we're going to see more of a rise of low-budget art house. I think because of that, we're going to see, hopefully, the rift between blockbuster and art house come together and we can just have, like, normal mid-budget movies again. Mm-hmm. One thing I really want to see come back is just the genre of comedy, not, like, attached to a different genre.
Yeah.
Not attached to superheroes.
That's extinct right now. Just straight up comedy is gone. It doesn't exist anymore.
Well, they had like grown-ups too.
Yeah, like fucking 11, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna maybe see this market crash a little bit. and it's going to be a little ugly, but I think at the end of that rainbow, first off, I do genuinely believe that the superhero, I think it will go the way of the Western in a lot of ways, where we will have maybe every couple of years a really good superhero movie, in the same way we have every couple of years a really good Western movie.
Yeah.
But not all that filler fluff. I think we are going to see a big collapse of the superhero game. Unless James Gunn DC does really well, but I unfortunately don't see that coming.
No, yeah. I think the way of the cinematic universe has like aggressively been burnt out, at least in the way that they're currently doing it. Like, people are kind of done with it. And I think moving on, and not even like, because you could still have a connected universe, but the thing is, like, having everything be this big overarching plot line that, you know, builds up. Like, you know, I work at a comic shop as my day job, and I literally had somebody come in looking for a book for like his kid, and we were just chit-chatting about Marvel movies, and he's like, yeah, they're so hard to follow now, like the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe, like I just stopped watching.
Isn't it crazy that they've pretty much gone the way of comics now and how they fail? Speaking of,
let's get it.
Present my thing.
But yeah,
I do think there's a lot of overlap, especially with comic books and
He'll Be Young.
Comics.
Darn.
I forgot those.
They've been declining ever since World War II.
Basically, no, yeah. World War II, you know, and I'm going to front load you guys with a lot of context because the current state of the comic book industry requires a lot of context for how it's currently functioning. Because it's all reactionary right now. And I'm going to front load it with that. Like, it's all very reactionary, focusing on past trends, what worked, what didn't work, and then now just playing upon a lot of nostalgia baiting or a lot of, you know, relaunching and rebooting. So, context, post-World War II declines. After World War II ended, superheroes were propaganda machines. After that, people were like, I'm good on superheroes. And that's when you had a lot of more pulp stories, and especially the rise of TV and film. That really started to kind of kill comics for a while there. Frederick Wortham, in the 1950s, he was like, Batman and Robin are gay, can't have that, and then started talking mad smack on DC and especially EC Comics, because EC was all of your pulpy horror, you know, Tales from the Crypt, your Crypt Keeper. And one thing I want to really note with EC Comics and the Marvel Age, look at that thing.
That's a cool thing.
Dude, I love them. But
nice thing there you got. That completely took you out of your train of thought for a second.
But the thing with EC, and especially Marvel, is that it really encouraged... Now, say what you will about Stan Lee. It encouraged a artistic and very either politically charged or very, you know, a lot of thematic stuff within those books. Especially
you mean
EC
they were
comics.
woke?
They were woke. Like,
not true.
The Fantastic Four was Marvel's first family. That's the thing that really started to put Marvel on the map, was Marvel releasing, because before that they were Atlas. They didn't really have much to them except monster books, which was the trend in the 50s. You know, your sci-fi adventures. In the 60s, you got the Fantastic Four, you got Spider-Man.
I'm pretty sure Fantastic Four premiered in 59.
I'm gonna strangle you on this side of the screen. I'm gonna reach my hands over and strangle you.
Yeah, editing Liam, edit Shaymin's hands reaching across the border and shaking Liam's box. Alright, thank you. So, the point of these is that they really helped, at least Marvel, helped bring the sales back up a little bit. They helped kind of develop these stories that were still for kids, you know. DC was wacky and wild with their Superman and Batman adventures, World's Finest having Superman shooting mini hymns out of his hand, and Batman riding on a tandem bicycle with Superman
and Robin.
And Robin, but Superman, Batman aren't pumping their legs. Robin's doing all the work. Like, you have all these really goofy covers. But Marvel goes, no, like, we could tell these kids' stories while still having morals to them, having these, actual storylines, and having this interconnected world where, hey, it takes place in New York. Like, and that was a really big selling point back in the 60s, was kids reading a book and going, hey, I've been down that street, I know where that is! It's a very fun thing. And then you get the Bronze Age. You get late 70s, 80s. You get these two books. You get your Dark Knight Returns.
I love those
Watchmen.
two books.
And
they're very good.
They changed the industry in some ways for the worst, because as much as they're fucking phenomenal stories with great artwork, like Klaus Janson, Frank Miller, beautiful pairing, Dave Gibbons, oh my god, like great artists on these great stories.
I wonder what lesson they learned from these books.
Let me tell you. Oh wait, there was a crash. There was a market crash after those books, because companies went, these stories are really edgy. These stories have some grit to them. Let's do more mature stories.
We got to turn up that dial.
And around that time, when comics were starting to get more recognized as proper literature because of Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen, because of the subtext and themes within those books, and there had been subtext and themes within previous books, people just didn't appreciate it or understand it at the time.
It wasn't considered literature until this period.
Exactly. And because of that, guys were like, oh shit, I have a bunch of these old books and people like comics now, I could resell them. And the thing is, before then, comics were printed on shit quality newspaper paper, like horrific newsprint that would degrade. Like, if you poured water on one of those old books, it would literally dissolve. And thus, they were trash can reads. Like, you would read a book, you'd be like, oh man, that was a great issue, chuck it. Next week, you buy the next book, and you chuck that one. So because of the limited number of books, people were selling Action Comics #1, where there's only, like, I think now currently, like, 5 copies left in the world.
I think one's owned by Nick Cage still.
And they're still throwing them out now.
Yeah, and and back then, it's like, oh, somebody sold this book for $10,000. First appearance, #1. People start collecting. You get this bubble building. People collecting new books, buying new books, and companies variant covers, and companies go, oh, let's do a bunch of new #1s all the time. Let's introduce a bunch of new characters all the time. New plot twists, new reveals. People collecting these things. It builds, and then pop! People go to resell these things, find out, oh, Death of Superman's worth nothing because there's a million copies of this out there. X-Men #1, the greatest selling comic book ever from the 90s, sold over, like, just in North American market alone, over 8 million copies.
That's a lot, yeah.
Or, like...
And they were worth, like, 3 cents secondhand.
And they were worth 3 cents secondhand because of a shit ton of variant covers. The famous Jim Lee wraparound. Actually, I have trading cards here of it. Hold on.
Ooh, you have trading cards of the market crash.
Yeah, we all brought something. You see, I brought Dragon's Dogma for your presentation.
Like, you like this wraparound cover was segmented into like 4 different covers, depending. Most of the time it would just be like the 3, but that Jim Lee cover, super famous, phenomenal cover. One of the reasons why the market crashed.
Yeah.
And in that time, you see that sales plummeted by 70%. 2/3 of every brick and mortar comic shop closed their doors. They were done. Marvel went bankrupt, estimating $610 million in debt. Shares dropping from $35.75 a pop down to $238.
And this was in a year?
If you want to... Yeah.
And that was within...
Obviously, the bubbles last longer, but...
The crash happened in 1993. Marvel put out those numbers in 94, so a year later. That's how much they had lost.
And if you guys want to know,
95 is when they applied for bankruptcy.
Yeah.
If you guys want to know why the rights issues exist with all these Marvel characters and why, like, you know, these guys own Spider-Man and these guys own X-Men and these guys own the Avengers, it's because of Marvel literally had no choice but to sell all their shit.
Yeah, and in this time too, mentioning trends within the industry, and this is going to carry over to now, artists go, oh, we're getting a lot of money for these books, but anytime we introduce a new character, they're not ours. We don't get shit from them. Because with a lot of freelance work, you're work for hire. You don't own these characters. You make something for the company keeps it for themselves. So that leads to a lot of like issues. Like you look at guys that I mentioned, I believe, before on the podcast a little bit, but like, you know, you got guys like Jim Starlin, who created Thanos, you know, who created or essentially the idea of what the modern Captain Marvel is, I guess, with Marvel, and then all the stuff with Carol Danvers he had a hand with. He did a lot with Adam Warlock. He doesn't see much. Like, he said his royalty check from Marvel for Thanos is like, you know, and it's better than most people's. I'll bring up a lot of other royalty check trends recently, but like his was still only like a couple thousand. And you look at how much Marvel made from Infinity War and Endgame, and it's really like $4 to $5 billion on their own there. Len Wein created Wolverine and then brought him over to the X-Men, and Wolverine's this huge character, and Len Wein doesn't get shit, right?
Which is crazy considering it's Wolverine.
It's because of in the industry like this, the company owns the characters, not the writer.
Yes,
exactly.
Hence,
which brings up Image Comics. All of the Image boys, you know, Jimmy Palmiotti, Mark Silvestri, Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, like all those guys went, all right, we're getting paid a lot for these books, but we're not getting our fair share of like rights to these characters that we create, you know, true creative license and freedoms. And they went, all right, let's go to Image. Let's make Image Comics. And now Image is in the top 3 of comic book companies, and they're still just kind of going, hey, if you have a vision, just make it and we could publish it if you pitch it and whatever.
If it's good, we'll take it.
Yeah, literally. And mentioning
you forgot
all the crashing, Death of Superman, X-Men, and now we get into recent stuff. And all of that context just kind of helps inform a lot of the stuff happening now, where a lot of my biggest issues, like we mentioned advertising with Leah, we mentioned kind of scummy business practices with Shaymin, and it kind of applies to comics just in general. Like, comics is an industry that is rough, you know, like with the writers strike and all that. Like, they were worried about job security. As a comic book artist, as a comic book writer, your job security is however many issues a series runs, and then you're done. And then you go on the hunt for the next gig, or you try to line that up as you're working on a thing. Because you're not on salary, you're not on payroll. You're literally working page by page, job to job. And there was a recent, I believe in 2021, a recent group that tried to unionize artists within the industry, but a lot of the logistics of that is very difficult to try to iron out. And there's still that union that has formed, but its numbers hasn't really grown that much since, because a lot of artists are just freelance. A lot of artists are global now because of the invention of the internet and digital mediums to draw with. But in terms of numbers, since the 90s, comics have been doing better financially, which is a good thing to see. Like, you look at this graph on the side here.
That's a good jump.
right there too.
That's
in
a
2020.
phenomenal jump. Yeah, because for a while, comics, before the big burst in the 90s, they were basically where they were up to in like maybe 2014, 2015 as a global market, maybe $1 billion worldwide. But then that nosedive, that went straight down. And with the introduction of manga and anime within Western culture, we've seen the trend of people wanting to read these sequential stories a lot more, increase a lot more. And, this counts manga as well, not only comic books. And manga does take up roughly 45% of that worldwide number, which is insane. But, American comics take up another small number of that.
Yeah, manga's kind of taken the
small number.
Small number. Like, I wouldn't say, I'd say North America is like, from what I was researching, where manga's like 45%, North America in comics like Marvel, DC, that's roughly 25 to 30%.
Not 2%.
Of the sales.
Okay.
Not 2%. But then, there's also the subtracted number of like kids comics and kids books and all that. But there's a good there it is.
It's getting better.
The CAGR, the compound annual growth rate, which is roughly 6%. A lot of news sources were saying a little bit over 6%. Some were saying like 5.75-ish. But annually, there's a growth that is just a percentage under the movie industry, which seemed to be roughly 7.2% to 8%. So there's decent output there, which is good. The thing that sucks about comics is that it's just always forever hard to get into.
Ever.
And just ever. And people say manga is, easier to hop into, and that's true. You could find volume 1 of One Piece or Dragon Ball or Naruto or Bleach. I mean, there's just one series to follow.
There's the joke, where should I start reading Batman? Well, at the New 52 reboot is a good place to start. You can also read the Denny O'Neil. You could read
Denny O'Neil run.
The current run. You can read Frank Miller's Year One. Where do I start reading Dragon Ball? Chapter 1.
Yeah, Chapter 1, bro. Yeah, but the thing is, the thing that gets misconstrued about comics is, it could very much be difficult to have a conversation like that. But my biggest advice to anyone, especially you, our beautiful viewer and reader.
Oh.
Or
listener.
You're not even why are you scratching them?
You. I get asked because I'm a big fan of X-Men, so people always ask me because X-Men is infamously difficult to read just because there's so much. Yeah. They're like, where do I start? And I'm like, just hop in wherever looks coolest to you, bro. Just hop in with a volume 1 that looks sick. And you just read and work backwards, or just Google, what's the best run to start with.
I would even say, as a piece of advice, if you go on, say, a publisher's Reddit, like a Marvel or the DC subreddits, they will have guides that you can read through.
Yeah,
if you want this, read this. If you want this, read this. So, still a little bit of research, but...
Yeah. But the thing is, in the end, you still get to have fun diving into these characters that you're interested in. And one of the things I want to note as well, in terms of trends and the numbers, of course, the digital market has really helped, comic book sales, because not everyone has a local comic book shop they can run to. Comixology, and now the new one, Omnibus, great platforms. Comixology's kind of shit now because Amazon just shat Kindle at it and was like, no more Comixology reader, no more marketplace, you're just Kindle now. And it's like, all right,
I get it.
All right.
We love Kindle.
We love Kindle. Buy Kindle, and it's like, no, I won't. But
I don't think I will.
But COVID weirdly helped a lot, because even though shops had to close because of COVID, people couldn't go in as much. Some shops were still able to order books and then, mail them out. And that was really good. That was a great, kind of adaptation, trying to build a online marketplace for your local comic shop as well as the brick and mortar store you could walk into. But also, people were reading and had so much more time on their hands that they just picked up a comic and went, holy shit, I like this, I forgot, and then just started reading again. And it's really awesome to see, because you see this humongous leap from 2020 to 2021, literally almost a full $1 billion leap.
Yeah, that's the only reason why, for sure.
And I'm not sure if it's going to keep up those numbers, or if it's going to
I would assume,
go back down again.
I would assume it's already down.
I would assume it's not that much more down.
I'd say we're still in a good period, but the thing is, there's so much out there to read, and I'm going to cover just comic book adaptations, Comics Broke Me, and Comicsgate, and then I'll talk about a lot of other recent stuff that I'm noticing.
Okay.
But a thing that was really big within, especially I believe it was 2015 when it happened, when a couple of assistant editors at Marvel, one of which is very online, she's currently editor-in-chief at IDW, Heather Antos, posted a selfie of her and some other assistant editors, all female editors, were like, hey, we got some milkshakes, and every fucking mouth-breathing mongrel went, I can't believe it. Maybe you should spend more time editing these books because they're shit. And basically called Heather Antos a diversity hire, called all of the female editors their diversity hires, said that a lot of the issues with comics, very similar to Gamergate, very similar to a lot of the go woke, go broke stuff. It's you're taking diverse talent and creating these diverse characters, and it's ruining the industry because this, that, and that, right?
What is wrong?
That's a good question. What's wrong with people? But now you get this whole
stupid people exist.
Yeah, you get this whole kind of very much right-wing leaning subgroup of quote-unquote comics fans that are they're trying to put politics in my superheroes, no thank you. And now you get some of these guys that, it really sucks, where, you read some old Nightwing or some old Tim Drake Robin, and you're like, man, this Chuck Dixon guy, what a fun writer. And then you look at him now, and you're no.
So this just happened to me 2 months ago.
Explain the TLDR.
Because I just finished Chuck Dixon's Nightwing run,
and it's good.
Ago. It's probably the best Nightwing run there is.
And Chuck Dixon is now an incredibly right-wing leaning, very just batshit takes comic skater.
He's very weird to me because he rages against new characters, he isn't responsible for establishing at that point new characters. So
yeah, he's like, all these new characters, what happened? What are we supposed to do with the old ones? And then also,
he wasn't known for solidifying Nightwing's mythos as it is now and making Tim Drake a character people care about.
New characters at that time, basically, I mean, Dick Grayson had been around since the fucking 40s, but
but Nightwing, as far as the status quo, was only tied to the Titans, pretty much.
Yeah, he didn't have his own solo outing, and that's basically what Chuck Dixon did. And
whoa, that's crazy. I just saw him on Twitter.
Yeah, he's nuts. Oh, he's nuts.
He's insane. And Frank Miller, too.
Frank Miller, very much Comicsgate leaning. He's since chilled out, but since 9/11, Frank Miller has never been the same. 9/11 changed that man. For a certain
degree, fair.
I understand,
I get it, but also, he went off the fucking deep end.
Don't read Holy Terror. We're due. If you wanna be a nasty guy.
Dude, it's yikes.
But Comicsgate,
we can't even talk about that one.
No, Comicsgate's a very interesting thing because recent trends have kind of led a lot of split between the industry, I've noticed, where you'll have a lot of kind of more indie, like more, I guess not left-leaning, but just more like new character, diverse cast, yada yada yada, like stuff on Kickstarter. But then you'll have these comic skaters post their quote-unquote bad girl books that are in the vein of like Lady Death, Lady Death, yeah, she's a character with like huge tits and like, very sexualized character.
Woo!
But like these Comicsgate guys are like, that's what women in comics should be, and my white savior superhero type that's a demon man with swords. Or you get Ethan Van Sciver with Cyber Frog, and they're on like Indiegogo or like these other Kickstarter type sites where it's like, okay, we can't fully advertise on Kickstarter because that's, I guess, too big of a platform and we're gonna get silenced or whatever. And they make it a very like victim-y thing about themselves too, and it's like, guys, relax.
Why do you
go
care so fucking much about what other people write?
Yeah, and this kind of leads into the
people feel like their identity is being attacked because of other people's identities are allowed to exist.
Yeah.
So here's the thing: a lot of people believe in sort of like a replacement theory, and it means like it's less space for them, but like the normal mainstream superhero type is still so prominent that it's really not as big of an issue as people make it out as. And again, I will say there are certain books that go a little cringe with it and go a little far and are definitely designed for that point.
And the one that
automatically your character not being either male or white or heterosexual does not inherently mean diversity. It could just mean that that's the story they wanted to tell. There's obviously the famous example of Miles Morales. Kamala Khan is widely appreciated by people who at least give her a shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kamala Khan is a phenomenal character, and I highly implore reading her books because they're all usually very good. But my biggest issue too is, like sometimes the quote-unquote diversity or whatever can be a little cringe because it could be like shoved down your throat, right? Like nobody enjoys that. Biggest example
but
the biggest example of a book that was canceled because people got so mad about it was the New Warriors roster from like 2019 or 2020.
I remember
it's
that.
like, look, we got B negative, Morbius's blood twin.
He's the only one who made it out.
He is the only one that made it out. You got Dora the Explorer with a mystical Mayan backpack. What? You got the most egregious
and Safe Space.
The two most egregious ones, Snowflake and Safe Space, who give me very bad Ultimate Universe Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch vibes. Like they're way too cleany for being twins. And I'm like, this is gross. I don't like this.
Some people just are unable to draw love other than romantic or sexual love. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's odd. Like,
that's because they don't know what it is.
Yeah, they're lonely comic artists just sitting in a basement, just going like, all right, gotta draw people that love each other.
It happens. Like I'll even say there are some good books where there are occasionally moments where I'm like, all right, you could have not. Like one book that I really greatly enjoy is actually Green Lantern Far Sector, which I think has a lot of brilliant social commentary that will occasionally ruin it by the main character going like the point of the book is it's an alien society that deeply reflects the issues of like modern day America, specifically through like the Black Lives Matter movement and stuff like that. And it's very clear to me what the story is about, but then occasionally she'll be like, dang, this is just like back on Earth with police brutality. And I'm like, well, I could have just done without the scene of you saying it out loud, but...
That's the thing of like, that's another example of you guys whine about making it more subtle, but then they have to do shit like that to make you understand the point.
Because I get it. I get what the book's about. I would prefer she didn't. I can maybe see the excuse of, since it's from her point of view, of course she would make those connections in her head.
Sorry.
Yeah,
There's freaking playing music in the background.
That's
and
okay.
then Mike's picking it up.
I can't even hear it.
I can't hear it, but
yeah,
punches.
you want to know what's really funny?
What?
I actually made this exact presentation 3 years ago.
Me too.
For a YouTube video. I have a video up exactly about this, and I was not gonna talk about it, but this was when Snowflake and Safe Space first dropped, and so that's where my video ended.
Nice. Yeah. Another recent thing,
but it's 3 years old and it's cringe, and so I'm not plugging it.
Yeah. Another thing is the comics broke me hashtag, and it's just from a lot of people that were very sour about how the industry currently is, and I understand it. I've seen other artists and writers comment on it, and some of them are like, dude, this is just the industry. Like, if you can't keep up with the pace, like, you're just out, you know? And it's a very cutthroat in the way of, like, you hit your deadline, or you miss it, you finish out your run or whatever, and then you're essentially blacklisted.
Yeah.
Unless you're Jeff Johns.
Yeah, and that's basically what happened to Jeff Johns. That's why Jeff Johns made Ghost Machine. With a bunch of other writers and artists.
To be
and
fair, bro misses JSA deadline every time.
Yeah. And dude, it's so bad because, like, you know, the comics broke me hashtag, like, it was a lot of people that were just upset that, you know, comics weren't what they thought they were, or comics were just such a ruthless industry of page after page after page after page of stories that you don't necessarily sometimes want to draw or have the time to fully draw for page rates that aren't that great. You know, a lot of smaller companies will give, I'm not gonna name names because, you know, in case I have to work for some of y'all. You know, like some smaller companies.
Myself.
Yeah, some smaller companies will pay like $70 for a full, like, black and white page, you know, like pencils and inks. Typically, from what I was taught at school, from what people have told me that have worked in the industry, typically a Marvel and DC page rates, like, if you're doing pencils and inks, like, sometimes close to double that, you know, like 120, 140. And when you're drawing, taking sometimes 3 to 4, 5 hours on a page, and you try to break down that math, 5 hours, divided by 70. It isn't that phenomenal, especially when people have to take on multiple books at a time. People complain about the quality of interiors, but the thing is, you know, a lot of people don't recognize or realize that within the industry, you're working within a month deadline. If you're doing a monthly book, you have not even a full month sometimes to work on it. You got like 2 or 3 weeks to fully pencil, sometimes, and ink those 24, 25-ish pages.
Yeah.
And then keep going. And keep doing that with other gigs as well.
Forever.
Let's not even talk about the manga industry.
And the manga industry, oh my god, these guys literally die at their drafting tables. You know, like, a very old example of the comics broke me trend. And it's not even like, you know, it didn't even exist back then, but this is just like a huge example that I think is very important, is you either look at Steve Ditko or you look at Wally Wood. And Wally Wood is a guy that beautiful draftsmanship, great work. He's, you know, he was one of the earliest artists on Daredevil. And he just couldn't keep up. And because of that, he already had a pretty bad drinking habit, but it just grew worse. And eventually, that man, you know, he just couldn't keep up. And in Steve Ditko's case, like, comics broke him in the aspect of he hated Spider-Man. He hated that character. Original Spider-Man pages, he would just, like, use as, like...
napkins.
As napkins, yeah. Like, oh no, I spilled a cup of coffee. You know, let's just wipe that up with Spider-Man number 3 page, you know, why not? And Steve Ditko was recently inducted into the Disney Hall of Fame for
Yippee!
whatever. And Steve Ditko would have hated that. He would have been so mad because he hated how commercialized it was. He hated how it just wasn't for the art's sake in some cases. And that's what a lot
he
of...
wasn't on those books for very long.
Yeah, which is why he dipped out of like Spider-Man and Hulk and what else was he on? What else?
He's on Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange.
Yeah, that's his
And
thing.
that's why he was that was, and Doctor Strange is probably some of his like best work at Marvel, just because of how weird and wild and conceptual and whatever it is with the mysticism. And originally he wanted Doctor Strange to be Asian, and then Stan Lee was like, no, Excelsior.
Excelsior.
You always gotta add that.
We're gonna sell 0 copies if he's not white. Excelsior.
Yeah. So the whole comics broke me thing, it's just kind of a sad revelation of the state of the industry, because even though things might be selling well, people aren't getting paid what they should, and the people that are getting paid come from, and I love a lot of the artists working in the industry right now. This is just a very just unbiased view of what I'm seeing. A lot of the artists that work at Marvel and DC right now are not American, because it's cheaper to pay them lower rates, because in their countries that's worth more than what it is here.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It's easier to pay some guy from Costa Rica
I'd say at least
$80.
the 80s.
Oh yeah,
I mean, that's
they
with
did
a
it
lot
in
of
the '80s with Filipino artists, where you got a lot of guys coming onto like Swamp Thing and stuff, and they were not getting paid as much as the American guys, but were happy with it because it was a lot of money to them. I sometimes I work with a company at conventions, and one of the artists does live in like Costa Rica or something, and the conversion rate for like however much he makes at a convention, which is like maybe, he does really well, like a couple of grand, converts to like tens or hundreds of thousands in his native country. So he goes home fucking loaded. Meanwhile,
but
here, I don't, and that's not even like a salty thing. That's just a thing of like, it's just how it is. It just is how it is. And I feel like the unionization is just to help people get that stability.
Keep the industry be there.
And keep the industry be there in the American market, because in other countries, and I learned this when I was in school, like in Canada or even in France and stuff, like there's government funded like comics, like little comic strips or books that like you work for and you get paid, and you're like, cool, I could do my thing.
Would you change specifically monetization, or do you think that, especially as far as like scheduling and stuff like that, if we move to different sort of scheduling? Because one thing that I hear a lot of discussion about is to go, a lot of people are tired, especially of how comics are written now, of single issues. Single issues for a lot of people aren't really working anymore, because of back in like this, all the way up until I say like the 80s, 90s, single issues usually contained the bulk of a story. Like that would be a story, but it would then like still have a cliffhanger to lead you into the next one. Where the way comics work now is they go more for like the manga
serialized, like
arcs.
Long-term arc.
But in single issues that come out once a month, it reads, first off, it reads worse than when you have a graphic novel.
So it feels very empty. And I noticed that, and I've been reading the new Ultimate Universe, and I like it, but my biggest fucking issue with it is, unlike X-Men, like Claremont's X-Men, where Days of Future Past, a storyline where they based an entire movie off of it, was 2 issues long. It was 2 issues.
The Killing Joke was a 1-issue story.
Yeah, The Killing Joke is short. Like you could read, and even if you go back and read like a lot of classic Marvel or DC, like these one-off stories are every issue, and then sometimes you'll get like a 2 or 3 issue arc where
I'm reading the O'Neill Batman run from the 70s, and every single issue I read is a new story, and you know what? It reads a lot better.
And that's the issue.
So would it be better if we took the graphic novel format and released them in graphic novels, thus giving a lot more time to allow for perfection on the work, more forgiving deadlines, and then pay, I'd say, a little larger chunks for that type of stuff?
I'd say so, because I feel like then you would get a lot better I guess reader quote unquote retention in a way, because a lot of the issues with those single issues is that people also don't know the fucking schedule. Like, people aren't stopping in your shop and reading the brochure that you have at the front desk, because they're not like, this isn't Red Dead Redemption 2 where you walk up to the desk, flip through the catalog and go, all right, I'll take that one. You know, like you're and it's so hard to find when these books are coming out. So I think the major issue with single issues is just that there's not enough advertiser communication there. And especially when you have these big MCU, DC movies that can do well at the box office and people want more of those characters, doesn't it make sense to advertise your books as well? But
thank you, James Gunn.
But thank you, James Gunn, for actually saying, hey,
we're a pro James Gunn podcast.
And then and then you see the next day, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, which is a very recent book, is bestseller sold out. All-Star Superman, bestseller sold out. Like, when you list, hey, this is what we're basing our stuff on,
even with the
Batman, go read it.
Do you know how many Long Halloween copies I saw disappear?
They even had copies of like the first issue of Long Halloween at like opening night. Like, they would hand that out and be like, hey, here's your complimentary The Batman Long Halloween issue. It's like, wow, sweet. And the amount of issues of like Batman Ego, or the amount of trades of Batman Ego, Long Halloween. What was the other one that Matt Reeves said he paid?
Would it be year one?
Of course, yeah. It was year one, Long Halloween, and Ego. And
those all, I don't know about Ego because I haven't read it, but I know year one and Long Halloween very also smoothly transition into each other.
Yeah, very smooth transition. Very much a nice tight story on all of those. Ego's such a great Darwin Cook book. Like, Darwin Cook's phenomenal artist, R.I.P. One of my biggest inspos. New Frontier, another phenomenal one by him. Like, definitely read Batman Ego. But yeah, I think single issues is just either going the way of the dinosaur, or you need to do something where it's more available for people to see. Like, hey, this is
you have to make it the more convenient way to read this.
Yeah, I think
story. Because I just don't think with the way they write now, it really works. Yeah. I'd also say too, if you had more prolonged periods in between and drop maybe like bi-monthly or like quarterly, it would also give writers in the company a lot more time to like figure out what everyone's doing.
Yeah, and because you run into the issue of a lot of books either feeling very similar to each other, or a lot of great books just getting washed out by 17 Batman books on the fucking shelf, and then all of those issues, people pick up issue 1 and people are still in the collector mentality because that's come back of like issue 1.
DC is the worst with this. DC reboots to issue 1 every like 3 years.
Yeah, with Dawn of DC, DC Rebirth, New 52, and then going all the way back to Crisis on Infinite Earths, and even so the other crises. It's like
after
new number one.
After the 1 year later, everything was new number 1, right? Yeah, they do it all the time. It's really annoying.
and Marvel only does it every once in a while. But the thing is, they'll usually
Spider-Man.
Unless you're Spider-Man. And the thing is, like, they'll usually, and the thing that I kind of understand is that they'll do a new number 1 for like a new creative team. But then that creative team will continue whatever the previous group left off with. So it gets a little confusing when you could just legacy title it. But then, I understand the fact that it becomes daunting for people to see Hulk number 80 on a shelf and be like, oh god, do I gotta read all other 79 issues? And it's like, no.
That's also the manga influence, because of manga is a linear story all the way through and comics are not.
Yeah.
But yeah, comics, you think they're in a better spot now than they were before? Do you think they're going in a better spot?
I think so. We're seeing a lot of new kind of indie companies spring up, and indie in the way of like big names or big creative groups from Marvel or
Yeah.
DC going, all right, fuck this, and then going, and you see groups like Distillery or James Tynion, a really good writer. Is it Tynion? I don't know.
I don't know how to say it.
But he's a great writer. He does a lot of great. I've been reading Blue Book recently, and that's a great one by him and Michael Avon Omen. And that's just like a lot of very self-contained stories within a single issue from their new publication company, Tiny Onion. And it's just alien historical sci-fi shit with some like what he calls true weird in the back of like cryptids or other cryptozoological shit like that. And it's just one-shot stories. Each issue is issue 1 and issue 2 is out, so they're fun.
Nice. I think that's about as much time as we have for this week's episode. I think. Sorry, guys, we went a little bit long, but we just had so much information to cover.
Oh yeah. I think there's a lot of
very
avenues to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of avenues for all 3 of these industries to go up or down from. Like we're in a very tumultuous spot because of inflation and the price of things getting more expensive.
I do think
access to them.
It's interesting.
And then
we're in relatively similar spots. You're right.
Yeah, all 3 are at this kind of either
we're about to get worse, but
or
maybe we'll get better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all doing well, like technically speaking.
Yes.
Not me.
And financially, we're all at least somewhat making profit.
We're making profit. We only just lost 6,000 employees in the games industry within this
and in comics,
year.
People always kind of struggling to put their shit out there, and it's just a sea of Kickstarter, Indiegogo, in shops, out of shops, so on and so forth. It's just searching for what you like, what you want to read, and I think webtoons and webcomics have helped revitalize interest in the printed format as well.
Most people I see read webcomics nowadays, just on their phone chilling.
Yeah, and one of the smart things that I've heard through the grapevine is that like some companies might be putting some of their books or characters within webtoons.
Onto webtoon?
Yeah, and taking
just
older books,
that book.
like some of the older books, and reformatting them, or just doing new stuff. I mean, look at DC with all of their DC webtoons, and they have a good couple of ones going.
Wayne Family Adventures is consistently better reviewed than the main Batman book.
Yeah. There's the Vixen one, and the reason why I know these is because I worked on them to put them into production for print. If you pick up the printed versions of Vixen NYC, Zatanna and the Ripper, and Red Hood and the Outlaws, you might see my name in there as part of the production crew.
Might or not? Probably will.
For Zatanna, it just depends on which one you pick up. I think the most recent one I'm in there, but for Vixen and Red Hood, I'm in there.
Nice.
If not, just make sure to write Angelo's name in there when you get the book.
And I should be in the upcoming volume of Wayne Family Adventures as well.
Oh, for real? That's kind of base.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah.
So those books are really fun, and I recommend picking them up. And also, printed format. It's always nice to have a book in your hand. I like that.
It is more fun to read physically than digitally. Just more fun.
Yeah, better.
Oh, I like digitally on my phone though, because then I can squeak it out.
It's more convenient. It's more convenient
on the phone. Yeah.
I just, I like the physical paper feel and all that.
Yeah.
I like sitting back, pouring a little glass of Jack and just reading.
Yeah, with a book in front of me and a movie playing over there and some Subway
and some Subway surfers aside.
And my schedule for the next week of the podcast.
Yeah.
But I think things are gonna get a little worse for us for a bit, but then I think we're gonna end up evening out and doing better. But
yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching our presentations. Like and subscribe if you want more. We're definitely gonna be doing an episode like this again.
We're doing more middle school presentations.
We're doing more middle school presentations about whatever you want. If you have any sort of things that you want us to talk about,
in the comments, make sure to grade us. Give us who had the best presentation.
Yeah, who had the best grade? Who? Yeah.
We read them. There's
There's
none.
Shaymin, you get a 70.
Shaymin, you fail.
You fell.
Alright, bye,
But yeah,
guys.
thank you so much. We'll see you
Yeah,
next
thanks so
time.
much. Retransformers by Daniel Warren Johnson. It's really
Dude.
good.
Yeah.
Oh wait, there was a crash? There was a market crash after those books?